I will travel to the seven seas. I'll do anything to find my destiny. Wherever the wind blows me. Is that what they say? Now the tide is coming in. I see where it's going. Out there on the ocean. I know my ship is coming in. Just past the horizon. And right where the sky ends is out there. Ooh, that song is cold. That song is cold. What's happening, party people? Welcome in. How y'all living? It's a beautiful day out here. I mean, it's a little gloomy, but we gonna make it. How you living? How is your win? Is it Wednesday? I done lost track of time. What is it? Is it Wednesday? It's gotta be Wednesday, right? Or am I tripping? Yeah. Yeah, happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. What's happening? Welcome in. It's your boy Coach Sean, faith-based relationship coach, and I'm here to simply have healthy, happy, and whole relationships, or help you build healthy, happy, whole relationships with yourself, God, and others. Because without the first two, you know, relationship with others are just simply diabolical to build. Um, and of course, in the process, helping you build security that lasts beyond marriage, so you don't lose yourself in the midst of finding love, whether marriage comes now or later. And we're here to have phenomenal conversation. As you can tell, it's a beautiful day. Energy is high. Yours should be too. How you feeling? All right. Um, as you're coming into the chat, give me a life satisfaction rating on a scale of 1 to 10. How you feeling today? Are you excited about the day? Are you excited about what you got going on in evening festivities? All the things. We've had some awesome lives and conversations that are actually in the process of being reposted over on the tube. All right. So be sure to go check that out. All my handles are the same. Coach Sean Walker. That's where you can catch replays for those streams you've missed, conversations you want to hear again, perspectives that you just want to put on replay. Clips of it will be made over time. So we're just in the process of getting some stuff together for that. So be sure to check it out. Um, and yeah, we're here to build some more conversation. This is relationship Q&A. Okay. So, of course, if you have questions, be sure to drop them in the chat. If you would like to come up and ask a question, be sure to hit the pink blue silhouette at the bottom of your TikTok so you can get in line. So you can talk to your boy. You'll take a few minutes to ask you a question. I'll take a few minutes to answer. Okay. Be precise. All right. Because we definitely want to make the most of our time together as more people come in and as the line maybe grows so we can have some healthy conversations. Great question. Hey, Deal, what do you mean marriage isn't the goal? I'm so glad you asked that. Well, the highlight of this conversation is talking about how marriage isn't the goal. And this is what I mean. Okay. When we make marriage the goal, marriage becomes the beginning, or I should say, the epitome of one's direction when it comes to marriage. Okay. Once I get married, I've accomplished it all. And because I've accomplished it all, there's nothing more for me to do. And not even necessarily there's nothing more for me to do regarding life. There's nothing more for me to do regarding this relationship. Right. I don't need to continue putting in effort and energy to pursue her or to connect and pursue him. I don't need to continue to remain in a stable position to continue working on myself for the betterment of the relationship, to remain in a healed posture and positioning. When we make marriage the goal, we actually forego presence. I've had conversations on here before in regards to marriage not being the goal. We don't date to marry, but we date to be present. Because believe it or not, a lot of marriages and relationships that are cultivated today are not created from a place of being present with one another. They're created from a place of trying to reach a goal. We're trying to reach a finish line. We're trying to, of course, we share the same belief, maybe, right? That, hey, I want marriage, you want marriage. Great. And that becomes the focal point of the relationship instead of actually being present enough to catch not just the red flags, not just the green flags, the beige flags, whatever flag you might see, but to also simply connect with somebody, to get to know where they're going and who they are, not just their background, so you can prepare best for how to handle them in tough situations, but to be able to be present enough to enjoy the moment with them. I think a lot of people are lacking presence in today's culture because we're living in hurry. Not that we're just living in hurry and survival states, but honestly, because we would much rather be felt than known. So the whole idea of being connected to somebody for a substantial period of time, to for a consistency, for a rhythm, for a desire, for willingness, for readiness, all the things, like all of that just doesn't seem to be put into the cards of conversations in regards to connections maritally, romantically, and beyond. And so this is what we're here to talk about. Uh, because I don't believe that marriage is the goal. And I think if you believe that marriage is a goal, it's a start, but it's not the end all be all. I think there's depths that we go into these conversations that invite us to recognize that there's more to relationship, there's more to marriage, there's more to connectivity, there's more to romance, there's more to these things than just marriage. What's the goal then if it isn't marriage? Great question, Murdy. I said it earlier and I'll say it this time, presence. If you ask me so far, and again, it's not to say that it's a layer. I want this whole conversation to be approached as layers, okay? Not like a end all be all type of conversation, okay? Not an all or nothing type of invitation, because that's not the direction that I'm speaking in. I'm just really inviting different layers to a conversation that we can build on. Because I'll say presence now, and hey, your boy will get married, and it'll be like, ooh, man, I said presence then and I still agree to that. And there's more. Right. So I want it to be a layer. I've been around. Okay. I'm not speaking necessarily from a place of being married. I'm speaking from a place of being surrounded by successful marriages. I'm speaking from a place of mentors and coaches who have been married for 30 plus years, 15 plus years. My own parents who have been married for 29 years. A lot of different people that I've been around who have had long term marriages. Okay. So I've been able to get like the realities of marriage. I don't think a lot of people talk about what those realities look like, even from a place of what you witnessed. Okay. I've witnessed marriages that are in a healthier position, excluding maybe a few that I've seen, okay, that I'm thinking of in my mind. But I've been able to witness some healthy marriages where the mundane is real, the repetitiveness is real, right? Um, Not everything is so exciting. Not everything is so, um, what do we want to say? Um, Bombastic. That's a word. And so, but that doesn't mean that there's no value there. And that's why I'm saying marriage isn't the goal. Because a lot of people have like, okay, when I get to, so think about the aspect of a goal. Monotonous. Thank you, Shariah. Thank you. That was the word I was thinking of, but I said bombastic instead. When you think of like, when you think of goals, when I set a goal, what's up, Aaliyah? What's happening? I appreciate you. I hope you're having a wonderful day. What's happening with you? Good to see you. Waiting on your message, man. We got to catch up. Um, so this is so when I think about a goal, right? I think about a finish line. Okay. I think about just going, right? And then once you finish that goal, once you accomplish that goal, there's a certain dopamine that you feel. There's a certain excitement, almost like a I finally did it, an achievement. Okay. And then when you hit that, depending on what you achieved, you might convince yourself there's nothing left to do. You might convince yourself, I've done all that there is to do. When you finish and complete that goal, the dopamine hits, and then all of a sudden we come into this format of what's next. We come into this format of looking at the next mountain. We come into this format of looking at what's the next available thing to do. And I think when you look at marriage as a goal and a goal that you accomplish and you check off your list, all right, that actually can turn more into an issue than it is a benefit. And I think marriage being the goal is actually possibly what has a lot of people getting married prematurely, and it has a lot of people getting married and divorced early. Has a lot of people getting married and then walking into that relationship and it becomes something completely different than what they imagined, what they wanted, what they believed, what they told themselves it would be. Because once I get here, now I'm available to X, Y, and Z. I had plenty of conversations. Once I get married, I'm now able to enjoy life. Once I get married, now I'm able to be the woman or the man I want to be. Once I get married, I now have the privilege of being able to enjoy life to the fullest. Once I get married, I'm now able to X, Y, and Z. And I know that there are some things that you're going to want to experience in marriage that requires a partner to have, like kids, right? Or like a legacy or something along those lines. But the biggest thing that I try to get to people, man, take your time, Frenchie. Take your time. When you have it, share it. And I see some questions earlier on, so we're going to get to those. But I just want you guys to think about this a lot at the crux of the feeling. So when I ask people, okay, you want to be married, you want to have relationships, you want to have this, have that, and I think it's a beautiful thing. Your boy wants to be married, so I'm in full support. I support you. I'm right with you. What is the feeling? What do you feel when you think about marriage? Right? Absolutely, Murdy. What do you feel when you think about marriage? What are some feelings? Um, can we request and talk about this topic or only questions? Both, Shariah. If you'd like to request and talk, let's go. Let's go. Um, so what do you feel when it comes to marriage? What do you feel? What do you feel? Some people would say, I feel secure, I feel loved, I feel wanted, I feel chosen, I feel all these things. Cool. So then I get to asking other questions like, okay, cool. So where else in your life do you feel this? Because this is a feeling that you are describing that mainly you want to experience. And possibly, if you think long enough, you've experienced before, even if it's in the smallest lane. And then we recognize that those feelings of safety, love, comfort, wantedness, belonging, connectedness, all these things aren't just limited to marriage. And so now we are able to duplicate, multiply this feeling that we have, that we envision marriage to be in our today, that actually pushes us to move forward into this abundance that we're called to live in, this fullness that we're called to live in, that allows us to create even better marriages and relationships in the future because we're both coming from full cups. I've told clients and couples this, um, because a lot of people who have made marriage the goal in one way or another have also carried a belief that, hey, I'm waiting on my other half to fill me up because without them, I feel incomplete. And this does carry the subconscious belief that until I get married, I'll always be incomplete. I'm missing my rib, I'm missing my other half, whatever we'll title it. And truth is that whoever you marry is designed to complement you, not complete you. So in this complementarian, I want you to think about it in the lanes of two people who have, and this is the last I'll say because I see some lines forming for some calls, so I'll be able to take you guys up. This is the last thing I'll say. I want you guys to think about it like this. In a complementary setting, imagine both you and the partner you choose as, cups, all right, with saucers. Okay, you have your little saucer plate and the cup in the middle. And in a complementary session, in a complementary like relationship, both of you come in full. Both of you come in full as both of your cups are to the brim. So much so that it's spilling over into the saucer. And what's interesting is as both of you pour into one another and give and serve, you continuously remain at a state of overflow because neither one of you are getting to a place where you are completely drained, completely empty, nor are you completely depending on the other person to give you all that you need in order for you to be sustained, in order for you to live, in order for you to love, in order for you to operate, in order for you to do what you're designed and called to do, be who you're designed and called to be. So there's a level of fulfillment that you're coming into this relationship that gives you the capacity to pour into them and gives them the capacity to pour into you, and you come into overflow. But imagine not being in this complementary role, and instead of both of you being full mugs on these saucers, it's more of a it's more of a, and I'm going to say it in this phrase, I'm waiting to get to marriage to be full. So now what you're doing is living off of the energy, off of the fullness that the other person has while you come in empty. And now instead of having two mugs full that come into a place of overflow, we are now taking turns being full while the other's empty. And eventually that mindset, that experience not only becomes more and more draining, but ultimately becomes destructive to the very relationship and marriage you so wanted. And so now, because we made marriage the goal and we believe marriage being the goal, now I have the ability to become full, live abundant, be at peace, have joy, have love, all the things. And I never did anything in my own single life to be able to bring those things to the surface. Now I'm constantly living in a codependent like relationship with someone else to give me something that I'm demanding them to give me. And then you put all of this pressure for this spouse that you have, this person that you're connected with, to be everything for you, not realizing that part of building relationships in totality is recognizing that different people meet different needs. Of course, your spouse is to meet needs across the board regarding intimacy and the level of relationship that's built. But this also allows us to recognize the importance of still having friendships, the importance of still having mentorship, discipleship, the importance of still having community around us that have the wherewithal to still give us things that we need, that we will not put on the shoulders of someone we're intimately connected with in a marriage to do, because even our own spouses have a limitation to what they can provide that still allows the relationship to be as healthy as possible. That still allows the marriage to be as full as possible. That still allows you to be as full as possible as an individual. And so I just think when we make marriage the goal, there's a lot of subsequent consequences that take place that we don't consider, that plays a role in sometimes the dissolving of marriages if we're not careful. And sometimes the miscommunications, the unexpectancies, the additional pains and frustrations, the stories we attach to things that ultimately doesn't allow the relationship in and of itself to flourish, and that doesn't allow you to continue to flourish. Um, and I think when you talk about getting into places of security, this is where all of this expands. So, last thought. Let's see here. Shariah, I hope I'm saying your name right. What's happening, sis?
Hello.
Hey, hey, how you living?
Hey. Not too bad. How are you doing?
I'm good. I can't complain. It's a beautiful Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? We alive and we're well. And this is awesome.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts? Got a question?
And,
What's up?
you're right. My name is Shirai. You're saying it correctly.
Nice. I knew I had it
Um,
in me.
It was, I mean, I was agreeing with a lot of the points that you were making. I just wanted to say my take on it too. I feel like I agree that I don't feel like marriage is the goal either. I feel like love is the goal and marriage is a byproduct of that, you know? And I feel like even what you said with like presence, like I feel like having a goal like love or presence, with it being more subjective, it makes it like, how can you really judge when you've actually achieved it, which makes you want to continue to work towards the goal. Whereas with a goal of marriage, or sometimes it might even be just the ring itself, not even actually getting to, you know what I mean? Having an objective goal makes it, once you, like you said, like once you complete it, then it's like, okay, what's next? And then you just kind of have that continuing feeling. But yeah, I was just agreeing with the points that you were making, and I just wanted to add my 2 cents.
Nice. No, I appreciate that. I 1000% agree. I think when it comes to love being a process. I was just thinking about this on my walk to the gym. Um, and again, coming from a biblical background with everything that I do here as a faith-based relationship coach, I really think Paul hits it on the head when he talks about love being a mystery. um, and the mystery behind what it looks like to still choose somebody, even being aware of their dysfunctions, being aware of their flaws, being aware of where they fall short. A lot of things that has programmed one another to be able to be where we are, and yet still choose one another with what we know and what we don't know, and still making that commitment to choose one another daily. And so love is the foundation. And I'm going to rephrase it, but I get what you're saying. Love is a foundation. Marriage is the byproduct. That is it.
Yeah.
That is it. Like when I'm able to be present with people, I give myself the best opportunity to love this person. And when I do that, now when it continues to compound and cultivate, we now have a direction with what the relationship looks like, and all of a sudden the capacity for the journey expands, and we're not rushing, we're not hurrying, we're not over identifying, but we're also giving each other an opportunity to see one another. I
Right.
can't see you if I'm running from you, if I'm hurrying beyond you. um, I can't fully engage with all that a relationship is supposed to be, and the joy that relationships can bring, the peace that relationships can cultivate to, if one, I'm not even present enough within myself to then actually be engaging with you and be present with you.
Right.
And so all of it goes hand in hand. And even from a scientific perspective, psychological perspective, um, you know, the nervous system in and of itself, when we talk about co regulation, is a
Hmm.
massive, massive thing. the when you're having conversations with people and there's eye contact, head nods, leaning forward, there's a invitation through body language and tone that what you're saying is being received and the other person is listening.
Right.
This is literally communicating to the ventral vagus nerve or vagal system, okay, that this is safe to continue talking and it's
Right.
safe to continue sharing. But in the event that somebody shuts down, folds their arms, points the other way, looks away, sighs, leans back, all the different things, you're subconsciously reading that information, and all of a sudden, what you were once willing to share, you now shut down, and you're
Right.
like, okay, no, I'm good, because that is literally a relational aspect that requires presence to maximize. And
Right.
so many of us are missing that through various different behaviors that we'll engage in, claiming that we are doing something for better, for the good, for the development of a relationship. But in reality, the very thing we're escaping is the very thing that we actually run into when we connect with one another, even in intimate spaces, thinking that we're doing something for the better when it's actually worse, because it still requires me to be present within my own body, which then invites me to be present with you. And because I have not shown I can be present within my own body, I'm still running.
Right. And one more thing that you also said too, just like making sure, like if you get into a relationship with someone and you kind of just put the burden of like all of your stressors, all of your, anxieties, all the things that are going on with you day to day, just kind of like making it a requirement for someone to be able to carry all of their weight and yours as well. I mean, is that's a pretty big load to carry for anybody. You know what I mean? It's
Absolutely.
like, I feel like if the roles were switched, I'm sure that would be a lot for someone to handle too. And I think sometimes people don't consider that. Like, if I were, to be having to carry all of this from someone, that's a lot. And how you were saying, it's important to balance your relationships with your friends and then also just like you said different communities that you may have, whether it be like church or sports or activities or whatever, but also just like even with yourself too. Like sometimes it is okay for you to sit with yourself and talk to yourself first, talk to God, like having that conversation first before you don't always have to pour everything on to your partner. That's not their main purpose of being in your life, and I feel like when I was younger I used to have that expectation of boyfriends and stuff like that. And like as I gotten older, I'm like, oh my gosh, I do kind of feel pretty bad about how much I was asking
Yeah.
of one person. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I think they're all just like your husband, wife, partner, or whatever. Like they're always just another addition like to your community. Of course, like a very like highly prioritized one. But don't just push everything out and just focus on them.
There it
But
is. Yeah,
yeah.
that's beautiful. I've said it before. Not only, okay, two things. One, you miss just like you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You miss 100% of the relationships you're not present for. Okay.
Mm,
And then number two, realizing that um, I knew I was going to say that and then forgot this last one. If it comes back, I'll share it. But I think it's just on the essence of what you were saying though. That I want to learn how to self regulate. I want to learn how to be able to filter myself, to be able to bring the best version of myself to every conversation and connection, even if the
mm,
best version of myself is a low volume, low emotional moment or high emotional moment, right? It's like when I'm having conversations, things aren't sitting right. I'm processing things. I want to be able to be vulnerable enough to carry those conversations and to open that up and
right.
invite my spouse into those things. But as you grow older, you realize that not everything needs to be said, not everything needs to be reacted to.
Hmm.
You choose your battles wisely, and you also recognize too that it's a me and you thing, not a you versus me thing. The
Right.
language that we use changes the environment that's created. We don't fight. We're working through a disagreement. Because when
Right.
I fight, it's assuming a winner and a loser. And there is no winner. When you lose, I lose.
Right.
And
Because
vice
it's us
versa.
versus the problem.
It's us versus the problem, right? And so, but in order to navigate that, it just comes back to the aspect of being present. It comes back to all of that. And I think I've said it before in previous videos and live streams. I think presence is a lost art, because everybody's in a hurry to have something because we're feeling like we're running out of time, and we feel like it's not, it's becoming further and further away. Um,
Yeah.
and I think hurrying is actually, again, hurry is incompatible with love. Um, love is not hurried. Love is patient.
Yeah. And I mean, of course, like in this day and age with all like social media and everything and kind of just seeing like, we were never supposed to have this much access to other people's lives. And the fact that we do, and then I think just in general, like it's just notoriously known that like when you're in your 20s, like you just kind of feel like you need to get everything figured out and finalized before you turn 30, because I guess that's when the world blows up if you let the people tell it. You know what I mean? So, like,
Yep.
it's kind of just like I can't even be mad. You know what I mean? It's like I get it. Like I feel like just society has kind of made it seem like that. Like you are just naturally more in a hurry when you're in your 20s, and now that you have more access to people and seeing what they may or may not have accomplished in their 20s, it may make you feel, it's exacerbating that feeling that you're having when,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah.
I don't want to hold the line up. But
No,
thanks
no,
so
you're
much.
good. Absolutely. I appreciate your thoughts. Sounds like it could have been helpful for others. So I appreciate it a ton.
Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. Take it easy. Hey man, put a one in the chat if y'all felt that was helpful. Just duplicating some more of that conversation. We gotta She made a great point at the end, social media, and not having access to people's to so much. Again, guarding your heart is not just being mindful of what comes in. Guarding your heart is also being mindful of what goes out. And it's really a big picture moment. I really don't think that, and again, it's ironic. I say this knowing I'm someone who's on social media who puts out substantial, substantive. I'm trying to say the right word here. Um, substance. You get what I'm saying. Of content. But I typically tell people, man, like, don't listen to social media, y'all. Social media will have y'all like walking away from something that makes sense for you. Real talk. Social media will have you walking away from something that makes sense for you, will literally play a role in creating stories in your mind that aren't even a genuine reflection of what's in front of you and who's in front of you. All because of the hook they used, all because of the likes, all because of the comments and the engagement. And you like, not everything that has high likes, high views, and high attention means it's good, means it's truthful, means it's healthy. We can't keep correlating those kind of things. There's a lot of stuff trending that's toxic, a lot of stuff trending that's unhealthy, a lot of stuff trending that sounds good, that's loud, that's repetitive, that's echoed, but is not actually something you should be putting your ears and eyes to. And that's why it's just so important to get around, you know, healthy people, healthy community, intentional people who actually have access to you, who can speak directly to you. Y'all, I was thinking about this again, whether it was this morning or yesterday. This is why we have to be mindful, again, of who we listen to, who we choose to follow, whose content we can choose to consume, because not everybody's coming from healthy places. A lot of people are perpetuating further dysfunction and duplicating that because they're coming from places of pain they haven't healed. Shout out to Dre in the building, my guy. I appreciate you. People are duplicating this stuff, and it's coming from places of trauma, coming from places of pain, coming from places of things that they have not healed through. And so they're only speaking from broken places or attached places that they have not healed. One of the things that I'm so proud of myself for doing before I even came back to social media spaces, after relationships or things of that sort, was really taking the intentional time before. And it didn't mean that I had to come, completely away from social media. But one of the things I'm so proud of myself of is I gave myself time to heal and process things and letting go of relationships and people before I got to social media and started sharing lessons from those experiences that had that wasn't even necessarily directed towards said person. It's a culmination of things that I experienced. I didn't go on here and blast a story time. We're in a culture today where when something happens, the first thing we want to do is pick up our phone and we want to turn on TikTok and post this and share that. And we're giving people access to things that they have no rhyme or reason to speak into, that then we give them the power to speak to us, not because it's taken, but because of certain ways in which they say it. um, and you just got to be mindful, man. Like we're just in that space, and we got to be able to get control of that back. And it starts with being okay in silence and stillness. It starts with being okay with you. A lot of the work that we do over here on this platform, on this place, especially getting to places of security and building a healthy, secure attachment, is the ability to work through your nervous system, to no longer live in reactive, alerted places, but to get to a place of calmness, stillness, renewal that allows you to be able to calmly engage with your thoughts and emotions and calmly engage with other people external of you without believing that external behaviors have to define who you are, and still navigate, emotionally regulate, grow in capacities, all the things, right? From intentional places. You don't heal your attachment style just by taking tips and tricks that TikTok shares with you and then trying to implement that into your everyday routine. Like, we go through this all the time in streams, and I typically take a poll. I may not even need to. I might scroll down, but I'll maybe I will. Let's do it. Um, put a one in the chat if there was ever a time you saw tips or something that you thought would be helpful from a TikTok or social media perspective, and you tried it out or applied it for a couple days to a couple weeks, and then you all of a sudden went back to old ways. Like, the tips and tricks didn't last, it didn't stick, it didn't create a form of consistency. You started it, it worked for a couple days, it worked a couple times, and then you just stopped, fell off, and went back to old ways, old habits, old decisions. If you agree to that, if that's something that you've recognized in your own life, you've done numerous of times, then you'll recognize, like, it's not necessarily because the tips and tricks themselves are bad as much as it is your nervous system is looking at that and is going, nah, that's not you. That's not you. That's not what you do. Like, I know you like to pause before you send a message and pause and do all this kind of stuff, but that's not you. And we have to deal with it at an identity level in order for that to not continue to be ignored. Otherwise, we stay stuck and we don't change. Um, and I think that's a huge thing to take into consideration. I got another caller. Ooh, maybe I don't. No, I do. I got another caller. I'm about to bring them up real quick. Tiff asked way earlier, when to know a breakup is needed or right. That's a great question. To know when a breakup is needed. Um, well, I always start with asking and being honest about values, and I think that's a level. I think it can be a level one foundational aspect. Okay, my values are typically going to be what determines whether or not a relationship makes sense to stay in or walk away from. So I think that's always a first place. When a breakup is needed or right, I think we typically know how we feel about somebody, things that we're seeing in the relationship that make us feel unsafe, that don't make us feel as if, direction that is being taken is the healthiest, um, or is the best for us. Okay. In terms of what we want and where we're going, the direction that we're wanting to take for our own individual lives. But here's a great way to kind of, decide this, because I always think about this too. And if Tiff is still in the chat, I would love a deeper explanation behind that question, because behind every question is a questioner. I don't ever like to go off of assumptions. But I almost hear that question as if, like, how long should I wait until I see change? Or how long should I wait before walking away from someone or choosing to end the relationship? And we know that these things can't be determined by feelings, because sometimes you'll separate from somebody and you'll have the feelings of wanting to talk to them, wanting them back, wishing they were still around. But that's not necessarily because that's what you fully believe. It's really because the pain that's there is a reflection of how deeply you loved, how deeply you were connected, how much your body is still needing to adjust from the separation itself. But the pain being there doesn't mean that you made the wrong decision. The pain is just a reflection of the in depth intentionality you moved with in the relationship. And you can have that and hold that tension and still recognize, even though this hurts, I know I made the right decision. And we typically do that by looking at our values. And then also, too, I think, to answer the initial question, we're going, I typically share a whole story of a whole analogy. I'm going to save us some time on that. And I would just say you want to look for three things. Okay. Number one is self awareness. Is this person honest about who they are, where they are, what they're doing? Okay. Are you being honest about who you are, where you are, and what you're doing? Sometimes we want to make a breakup and separate from someone, and we haven't even done everything we needed to do to be sure that this was a relationship that we wanted to cultivate. Now, again, there is a measurement of wantingness, right? If you genuinely want the relationship and the other person genuinely wants the relationship and there's willingness to work on things, be honest about things and correct them, there's no, I don't think there's a world where that relationship has to come to an end. But in the event that it's no longer wanted, we pay attention to that. Okay. And some of the reasons why we're saying we're not wanting it. But the self awareness piece is important. So you're honest about who you are, where you are, and what you're doing. And then where is the communicative plan? Okay. Typically, when there's an issue, something you're continuously seeing that doesn't seem to be moving forward, there needs to be a communicative plan put in place to address whatever we're being self aware about, the pain we're causing each other, the lack of communication, whatever acts of betrayal, distrust, hurt that are taking place. What is the problem? And let's come together to put together a communicative plan to work through it. We're being specific in detail. What are you going to do? What are you committing to? What does this look like? So when we do that, now we're looking for progress, right? And progress doesn't have to be going from 0 to 100. Progress can be going from, 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and gradually allowing those things to compound, um, and having grace as this person is processing through that. Now, um, if you don't see anybody being honest about some things, there's no communicative plan put in place, and you're not seeing progression, but you're seeing regression, and there's no legitimate desire or focus on growth from these areas of pain, then I think we have our answer. I think we have our answer. And I think that's something that we want to be mindful of, navigating through some relationships and breakups. Um, you know, I want you to always be mindful about what you're looking at in totality. I think sometimes, depending on the relationship and the status of it, we have the tendency to look at one thing or something that isn't being done, and it goes from that one thing that isn't being done to now looking at absolutes. They always do this, they never do that. And all of a sudden, our minds lock in and center on the worst of this person, forgetting that there were also some good things about them that brought us to them, that made us want to connect with them. And it's not to say that we can't hold the tension of acknowledging the good with what is now becoming more of a red flag or an issue. We can hold the tension of that. But I think we just want to be very, very mindful of what is influencing our decision to stay or leave. What is it? Am I only staying because I'm afraid of starting over, or am I staying because I genuinely see effort behind this person's willingness to change and address some things? Am I leaving because I'm listening to all my single girlfriends or guy friends, who are unhealed and have issues with their own relationships and heartbreaks, and so they're just spewing venom, and I'm just the next recipient of it, right? Or am I leaving because no, there's actually some things that I'm seeing in this relationship that just don't align with my values, and there hasn't necessarily been an attempt to repair or acknowledge the wounds that have been caused. Um, and it hasn't actually been fruitful and beneficial, right? So I think I said a lot there, but I think that's something to pay attention to know, when does a breakup make sense? When is it the right thing to do? And we're not looking for feelings. We're not looking for feelings, because that feeling may never come of like, oh yeah, this is the right decision. And now sometimes it can, but sometimes we also realize too, feelings sway, y'all. You felt real confident sending that message and ending the relationship, and then a couple days later, you were like, "Why in the world did I do that?" But that's not necessarily always because you made the wrong decision. Sometimes, but not always. Sometimes it's actually just because no, I know I made the right decision. It just hurts and it sucks, and I have to be willing to just process these pains healthily to move on and move forward. And I hope that made sense, for anyone that maybe had some questions on that. Um, Frenchie said, "Can a oh wait before I go." Oh, okay. The caller's no longer there. That's fine. Again, if you guys are interested in just calling up and requesting that, be sure to hit the pink and blue button. I would love to connect with you, ask you, and answer your questions. If you have a question, you'll spend a few minutes asking. I'll spend a few minutes answering, and I'll get right to you. Also, be sure to send a secure message if you're interested in being a part of my secure program, designed to help you go from anxious or avoidant attachment to secure. So that way you can stop losing yourself in the midst of finding love, whether marriage comes now or later. Also, be sure to go to the top of my page and click the link. There, you'll be able to get your free relational diagnostic and or get a take your free attachment style quiz so you can know what your attachment style is. All right, to navigate through that and go from there. Okay, got a caller up here, Max. Yo yo. Oh, he's on mute.
Hello.
Yo yo, what's happening? What's happening?
I'm looking for like a little bit of advice. Pretty much, I was dating this girl for about a year and a half, and we had a very fruitful relationship. There was really no issues until the latter half of the relationship. I would say we didn't have our first fight until about 9, 10 months in. And as we kept dating, I would say over the next few months, we had like the same repeated fight where I've done a little bit of research on the attachment styles. I definitely have an anxious attachment style, and she tends to have an avoidant attachment style. And as you probably know, those two don't mesh well together when we have different interests in how much of what we want and what we want. So I've been doing a lot of work on myself in terms of how to like manage that and learn to be okay with that. And then I don't always need the reassurance that I'm constantly craving or the validation. And we broke up about 2 weeks ago, and then had like we were like, why don't we talk in 2 weeks and see how we feel? If this is the right decision. And we came to the conclusion, and she kind of came to the conclusion that she wanted to, but she just wasn't sure if it was right or not, and kind of left me with the door open. And then after that conversation, she ended up going and rebounding with another guy. And I was just wondering, like, how my mind knows you have to let go, but my heart doesn't. So, like, what can I do to actually let go? And then this is kind of contradictory to that, but like, I also keep seeing this thing all over my TikTok. I read a book called Attach where it's like avoidance always come back. Like, what should I do about that as well? Like, the both sides of it. It's like a double edged sword.
I was muted there. Yeah, no, these are really good questions. And I would say this, man. I kind of typically put this as an let me use it as an analogy. Um, have you ever seen a train turn on a train track, um, and maybe make a turn on a corner at any given
Yeah.
time? And obviously, in that same train, the locomotive leads, right? But
Yeah.
eventually, you don't necessarily see the full length or body of the train until obviously every cart makes that same turn. And so for a while, it's leading with the locomotive, and you see parts of it until it gets back on the singular track where you see the whole breadth of the train on one singular track. The reason why I'm making that picture, painting that picture, is because the locomotive oftentimes represents our mind, our heads, our logic, our prefrontal cortex, if you will, where we're reasoning. We can see, okay, yes, obviously it makes sense to let go, to walk away. The rest of the train is representing our heart, our mind, our bodies, our emotions. Okay,
Right.
that soon come on the same page, even if it's not immediately there. And so, a big part of allowing ourselves to let go bodily, man, is yeah, obviously yes, at a contextual or mind place, understanding why it doesn't make sense to return, why it doesn't make sense to, revisit the conversation or the relationship, but allowing ourselves bodily to process the emotions that we're carrying. The emotions have a way of being stored in the body, in various different directions. Won't necessarily get into all that. But in order to process it, man, we just have to let the emotions flow, because there is a part of your heart that still possibly wants it, was excited about it, was looking forward to coming back around, seeing what's left. And we just want to be honest about that and allow ourselves time to process that emotionally. Going through the grief stages, if you've heard of those, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance.
Yeah.
Okay. And, denial, I'm in shock. Anger is self explanatory. Bargaining is playing a lot of the what if and why in our mind. The depression isn't always connected to clinical depression. It's oftentimes can just be reflected on a functional sadness. Okay, so I'm sad, but I can still get my daily duties done. And then acceptance just says, I didn't like it, but I'm okay with it. Now, again, you don't have to feel those things in order. You don't have to complete a stage before you go to the next. It definitely has its flows in the first four areas. When you get to acceptance, that's really for a legitimate place. When you're really at acceptance, you don't find yourself going back to those previous four. And so anytime that you have a good day and then it circles back to being angry, sad, all the things, dang, I had a few good days and I'm still grieving and processing it. And so here's what I would do, man. I think, just to kind of see where you're at from an applicable standpoint, I want you to take 30 days. Okay. Just 30 days as just a beginning framework. And every day I want you to journal a couple things. All right. I want you to, number one, just kind of state where do you feel you are in the grief stages. Okay. Just kind of identifying where you are. Are you in denial, anger? What are you feeling in the moment? Um, and then just kind of talk a little bit about what it is specifically that is maybe reinforcing that stage for you to be in. And then as you do that, um, I want you to then, secondly, come back to circling what are the 5 to 7 things you're going to value about your relationships moving forward. We all can recognize there's some behaviors that we could have done differently, some things that, yes, for better or worse, we actually would want to experience maybe more of, less of, or differently in the future with next partners, right? There's some things that you need that, if you're honest, you probably weren't necessarily getting, and vice versa. And so we just want to be honest about that. What are the 5 to 7 things that you value about yourself or about relationships moving forward? Um, and then maybe you can just start with writing one because you'll do this for 30 days. So maybe it'll just be a value, one value that you want to write. And then just discuss a little bit about why, what makes that value important. And then thirdly, I want you to just focus on some gratitude. One of the biggest things about not about walking through these areas, man, is sometimes we forget that the people that left us may leave us for the same reasons others choose to stay with us. And so sometimes we focus so much more on who left that we forget who remains or what remains. Gratitude helps us kind of recenter that and be more in the present. And again, it's all about just allowing us to allow those emotions to flow. And I think doing this is going to give us a nice time frame so we don't end up staying in these positions too long. But we do give ourselves an ample enough time. And if you get to the end of the 30 days and you're like, dang, yeah, I was nowhere near acceptance, do another 30 days. You know what I'm saying? Like just kind of multiply it until you get to a place where you feel like, okay, I've had a consistent string of acceptance here that I've acknowledged and I'm okay. Um, but I think with the body getting on the same page, your heart getting on the same page, it's just allowing those emotions to flow. Thoughts will show up, curiosities and questions will show up. But we also realize that's just part of mind chatter. And it's not something that we have to over identify with in order to get the peace that we know belongs to us and we have the ability to look forward to coming out of. And it's all about us reframing the experience. Who did you become in the midst of that relationship? What was helpful or what was right about this relationship ending? I know that's hard to think about because it's not what you wanted, but what was right about it? I think sometimes those focuses and shifts can help us look at it differently, and then have us look at pain through the lens of purpose. And yes, even though the avoidant might come back, man, listen. One of the we can't control what other people do, but we can control how we respond. And so taking responsibility in that is us just allowing those people to do what they do because they're moving reactively, just like anxiousness moves reactively. This time we're recognizing and aware, okay, they may come back, they may create distance, and then all of a sudden send a hey text message. Let that be information and feedback that is maybe more towards where you are and not so much about trying to control or keep them from circling back. Because you don't have to respond and you don't have to give that time and attention. Does that make sense? I said a
Yeah,
lot.
it does. Um, it's also just fucking grueling, to be honest. But
Yeah.
I guess the hardest part about coming to terms with it is that And I mean, I've talked to my friends about this too. It's easy just for them to discard you and then
Hmm.
go about their day and look like nothing is wrong or they're completely fine or they rebound and everything's great. And then you're just like, oh my God, like, did they forget about me?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's definitely hard. But like
Hmm.
you said, it's like the train. My body needs to just start one thing at a time and eventually I'll be fully on board.
Absolutely. It's one day at a time, man. And those things can hurt, man, because it's like we spent so much time, we invested so much together just for this to be it, just like that. We were together here and now it just feels like we're strangers again. That's kind of odd.
Yeah.
And it can rattle us mentally and emotionally in various different ways. But we also recognize too, man, that people who have the capacity to do things like that, it doesn't make them better. It doesn't make them greater. And it also doesn't give them the privilege to define the value that we carry or what we're worth moving forward. And I think that's something that's really, really good to just think on and allow yourself to rehearse. They did this for whatever reason, but it doesn't get to define who Max is moving forward, or what Max is available for regarding love moving forward. And this is really an opportunity for us to really see what our threshold and tolerance is for pain, because that is a very different thing too. Sometimes we've never experienced some things like this before. It could be a first, and so it hits different, um, and it hurts a lot. It's grueling, as you described it, and so this is giving us the ability to just have some capacity expansion with what we can tolerate when it comes to pain, and just getting an opportunity to discover those and grow with it at the same time. And I definitely believe the best is yet to come for you, man. Taking the time to heal through this healthily.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, my privilege, man. And again, if you have more questions, just let me know. Send a message, and we'll figure it out.
Will do. Thank you.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Take it easy. All right, man. Put a one in the chat for Max, man. I hope that made sense and was helpful. Um, that stuff can be that stuff can be troubling. But there is a way out, and there's a way forward, and it's with our ability to just give ourselves time to process these things healthily, and allow the emotions to flow as they show up, not hindering them, not limiting them, but being present in them. um, it definitely can be of help. Okay. That Carrie, how do I say your name? Is it
Yes,
Carrie?
hi. It's Kari. Everybody
Kari.
thinks it's
Oh, okay.
Carrie.
I was gonna say that. Okay, bet.
Yeah.
Bet. Lit.
Yeah.
What's up,
Hey,
man? How are you? How can I help
I'm
you?
good. So I have a pretty complicated situation,
Okay.
very toxic situation.
Sure.
So this man that I have been with for 9 months, I know I have to leave him. I know I have to.
Oh, so I'm
Yeah.
curious. What you know the answer? What
Yes,
are we here for? What are we processing?
I feel like I can't break out of the cycle. Every time I've tried to leave, I have not been able. In the
Mm,
beginning, he showed me like he basically crafted this whole mask and like this fake identity and presented that to me about who he is, what kind of person he is, the goals he has, how hardworking he is. And as the relationship goes on, I started seeing cracks in that mask. And then I just find out a couple weeks ago everything's been a lie. And this man is jealous of me.
mm,
And I'm here wanting to, stick by him and help him be loyal and, you know, support him. But he's just so like, he sees things as like a competition, or he wants to ride off of my success and doesn't want to build his own. And to me, he's presenting all of these things of like how hardworking he is and like everything is fake. I mean, on Instagram, he bought all of his followers. And when I started growing on Instagram, he got really like, I don't know, he felt bad about himself. And that was one thing that showed me that he was jealous. And like with my YouTube channel, I don't have like a huge YouTube channel. It's just like 18,000, but that's over 5 years, of
sure.
hard freaking work,
Uh huh.
hard
I
work.
know it.
And
I know
that's
it.
that's not a lot for like 5 years and like working as hard as I have. Like, that's not a lot. But he suggested that we take down all of my videos on YouTube and repurpose it so that way it could be like a couple's account. And he was like suggesting the same thing with my Instagram as well. And it's like, what? Like, he wants to ride off of my success or like
Mm-hmm.
things that are working for me. Like, he doesn't want to put in that work himself.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, I've seen him do this with his jobs. Like, he gets fired from jobs like 2 weeks max after he gets hired. He has no like motivation, hates himself, and like has lied to me about so much. I found out that he lied about a health condition, a terminal health condition that he said he had because I was about to leave him. And every single time I've tried to leave, there has been some I'm gonna kill myself, I'm dying, or like I have nobody else, all of this other stuff. And it's like, don't get me wrong, there's great parts of him, but I'm starting to see like he's really not a good person and he doesn't have good morals. He's just not husband material.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm trapped. I'm not trapped. Like, I don't have a child with him. I'm not married. But every time I try to leave, he like makes it impossible or tries to corner me or guilt trip me into staying, or he'll change for like 2 3 weeks and it will be like such a huge change. I'm like convinced, okay, he has to have changed, but he doesn't.
Mm.
And I know I have to leave because like this man is going to ruin my life. This
Yeah.
man's going to ruin my life. I don't know. I don't know where this comes from. I don't know how to detach from this man or leave safely because I've just seen him do things. I've seen him intoxicated, and he's not a good person. He's said and done things while intoxicated that just show that he has no integrity, no morals. And with all the things that I found out that he's lied about, which is almost everything, it just
Mm-hmm.
shows me that he doesn't really have a conscience either or empathy. So I can't be here, and I just don't know how to leave because I've gone through like what you said with the previous person,
Mm-hmm.
Max, I think that was his name, that you go through like
Mm-hmm.
these stages of accepting, and I keep cycling through like sadness, denial, and anger, and then acceptance over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'll think that I'm so done. Like right now I'm done. But then like I see, oh, well, he did this, and I make excuses and start trying to bargain, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah. So I think that, all right. So I know what I want to say to this.
Say it.
But let me ask this one question before I do.
Mhm.
In the event of you being ready to leave,
Mhm.
and he pulls the I don't have anyone else, I'm about ready to take myself out of here, all the things to get you
Mhm.
reeled back in.
Mhm.
What is the belief or story that you attach to or that crosses your mind that you buy into that gives you permission to stay?
So every time except the last time, I would tell myself the story, oh, well, he's had a hard life. He doesn't have anybody else in his life but me, which is true. He doesn't have anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And he's mentally unstable. If I leave, he really could like do something. I don't know. He's that crazy. Maybe I can help him. I know I can't fix him, but maybe I can support him or like encourage him to do better or help him to see things more positively.
Mm-hmm.
The last time he tried to do it, I was like, yeah, this is just a bunch of BS.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting that we use terminologies like I'm stuck and I'm trying as a means to keep ourselves comfortable
Hmm.
with the effort we're giving. Because if I were to tell you right now to try to pick up your phone or the device that you're watching this and being a part of this live on right now,
Hmm.
you wouldn't be able to do it. It's not because you're not trying. It's
Hmm.
because there's a difference between doing and not doing.
Hmm.
And that there is really no such thing in a lot of areas as trying
Hmm.
something. So
Yeah.
I want to point that out. We
Hmm.
either do or we don't. There's like
Right.
there's a decision that we have to make to value where we are and value where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the cycle of being stuck in this part, um, I'm just gonna lightly put up a mirror here
Mm-hmm.
because being stuck actually has nothing to do with him and has
Mm-hmm.
everything to do with us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Okay.
I want to paint this in an analogy to make this make sense. Have you ever been to a beach before?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. How far out have you gone into the water on the beach? Far at all?
Not too far, no.
Not too far, right? So, but when you imagine a beach, you see the waves
Mm-hmm.
crashing up against the shore, and we know the strengths of the current,
Mm-hmm.
right? Some of the currents that show up
Mm-hmm.
even on the shallow shores, they have the tendency when the deeper you walk, and obviously the more that comes up to the shore, has a tendency to drag you further and further out,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, how do
Right.
you keep those waves and that water from bringing you deeper into the sea or into the water?
Um, well, I never swim very deep,
Mm-hmm.
but you gotta swim. I think it's sideways, right? Like you go diagonal from the current.
Sure. That's a possibility. I have another solution. You just don't go near the water. You just don't
Yeah.
go near the water. You create distance because distance is what's going to keep those waves from grabbing a hold of you and keep you from
Mm-hmm.
being so sorely connected to what it's trying to drag you further into. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a classic picture that I can see in regards to dealing with someone like this because the waves that are crashing up against you in such a space
Mm-hmm.
is actually the reactive and erotic emotions that show up when you are choosing to do something and choose you for the first time in this situation. You know it's
Mm-hmm.
toxic. You know it's something you don't need to be in. Yet you're here and you're asking in a way how to walk away. But it sounds like to me you know what to do to walk away. It sounds like the difficulty is more about the emotional connection or the hope that something could change that
Mm-hmm.
is keeping you around because of the positives that you may see in him that are few and far in between.
Yeah.
And distance is ultimately what gives us the not just the best clarity, but the best advantage of separation. Because I can't separate from something that I'm constantly clinging to or
Mm-hmm.
remaining connected to that has not shown to be of any value to what I need, who I am, or where I'm wanting to go with my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of engaging with these waves of the emotions that are buying and drawing us in, regardless
Mm-hmm.
of how he reacts and responds, it is not my job to control the current.
Mm-hmm.
It's my job to control where my feet are in connection to the current.
Mm-hmm.
And my job is to walk away and create distance and walk the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
And leaving is what makes the best decision for that. And how to leave isn't even necessarily in a manner of finding the right words, the right eloquency, the right verbiage and sentences. Sometimes people learn when you just simply do
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
actions speak louder than words and words are not fruit, actions are.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to give myself the ultimate decision making ability to prioritize my safety. And by
Mm-hmm.
prioritizing my safety, walking away, and in this case, perhaps being okay in the event of walking away and saying bye, I'm done, and closing that conversation right off of that. Because what's so
Mm-hmm.
interesting is this person has yet to even respect the boundaries that you've even set from the previous times that
Yeah.
you've said no.
Yeah.
Because they love so like here's a beautiful thing. I want to do a role play. I want to show you,
Mm-hmm.
I want to show you what this
Mm-hmm.
can look like.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll be you,
Okay.
and then you be your guy.
Okay.
All right. What is the setting? Where are we at, and what time of day is this conversation happening, and how is it happening?
Um, it's over the phone.
Okay.
It's in the evening after I get out of work.
Okay.
And what was the last question?
Um, is he calling or are you calling?
I'm calling.
Mm, okay. And has there been conversation that has happened before this?
About the breakup.
Not the breakup, essentially, just the conversation in general.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay, interesting. Before we start this, I'm curious. Why would you call him?
Why would I call to like initiate the breakup?
No, no, no. So, like, are you typically the one calling, or is he typically the one calling?
No, I would say he's the one typically calling
Okay,
most
but
of the
in
time.
this instance, because he's not gonna do that, you're gonna call.
Yeah.
Interesting. So let's just walk through this, okay? Because I do think there is a world where we don't need to call at all.
Okay.
There is a world where we don't need to. But let's just say that this is the conversation. I want this to be the role play to see the version or vision of the conversation that could happen.
Okay.
So, and scene. I'm calling now.
Okay.
Ring, 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 ring.
Hey.
Hey, I actually just need to tell you that I am no longer interested in continuing this conversation or conversation. I'm no longer interested in continuing this relationship, and I'm done with you.
Are you serious?
As a heart
You're gonna
attack,
do this again?
and for the final time.
But I've given you everything I have.
Interesting.
You know I have nothing else. I have no one else.
And I never had you. Doot, doot, doot.
Damn.
So
Damn.
this is the issue, right? Because that conversation doesn't even have to be longer than 30 seconds to a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Because what interesting, so you see how like
Mm-hmm.
your initial tendency is to stay in the water to continue convincing the current that it's not a current.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in no business of trying to convince somebody who is reactive and in those spaces of, okay, yeah, well, this is what you did, this is what you weren't doing, and this is why I'm leaving.
Mm,
I'm not entitled to give anyone an explanation for what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
damn. Yeah, you're right.
And they can be as entitled as they want to be for an explanation that they just quite simply won't present themselves to understand.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have to give that to you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. What keeps relationships in these perspectives toxic and as roller coaster rides is
Mm-hmm.
because we're the ones allowing it.
Mm-hmm.
Not because it actually is. It's because we're allowing it in this regard.
Mm-hmm.
And leaving isn't doesn't have to be as difficult as we make it out to be. We just have to be willing to stand on principles, stand 10 toes down. Everybody's talking about standing on strict programs, but when it comes time to make a decision like a strict program would,
Mm-hmm.
we fold.
Yeah.
So this is what that conversation should look like, if anything. I'm not mad at the reach out or sending a message. I don't even think you have to get on the phone and call. Now, if you,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess if you get off of this call and that's what you do, that's what you do. But you don't have to get on the phone and get on a call
Mm-hmm.
because you've established numerous times that the behaviors that have been shown aren't healthy,
Yeah.
aren't good, and isn't something that you need.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of explaining to you for the upteen time why this isn't something that's fitting, I'll show you better than I can tell you,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll
Yeah.
just walk away. And these are one of those moments too where you can be okay with, in the event of harassment, he's continuing to blow up your phone, call, text, this, block the number.
Hmm.
Let's not forget, you. I'm just gonna. This rhetorical question. You pay for this phone that you have, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm confused on like why I pay for this mug.
Hmm.
So I last time I checked, I get to decide who has access to me and who doesn't.
Hmm.
Not you.
Yeah.
So I don't have time for that.
Hmm.
And I choose not to make time for it.
Yeah.
And whatever excuse he could give and whatever listen, and this is something that many people won't say. I don't know why, but I'll be the one to say it.
Hmm.
Um in a world where people are quick to use those kinds of extremes, you're the only person I ever had, this, that, and the third. I promise you, number one,
Hmm.
that this isn't going to be the only time that that has happened to him.
Hmm.
And in the world where this person decides to do the unthinkable,
Hmm.
this wasn't what tipped the the chair over. We forget that there are so many things in a person's life that leads up to certain decisions. It
Hmm.
was not just one moment that changed everything. It was a compound effect of a multitude of decisions, choices, feelings, emotions, experiences that led to it.
Hmm.
And if he ever decided again to do the unthinkable, it is not because of what you finally chose to do, which was the right thing to do.
Hmm.
And we end up learning, I love what Carly says, to trust God with the outcome of the both of
Hmm.
us.
Yeah.
I trust him, whatever happens. And it is not my job to control the outcome of what happens here with this person or with this relationship.
Yeah. I think
I'm
that's another reason I held on for so long.
mhm,
Like, for a while in the beginning of last year, I was going to this church where they have like a prophet there, but God has shown me like not every prophet that says they're a prophet is a real prophet. But
true.
regardless, they spoke over our relationship, like saying that it was like God ordained and like we're going to be celebrating marriage together and stuff like that. But that one thing, like, I feel like for the first 3/4 of the relationship, I feel like that's what kept me going back, like as if it was some assignment or test from God to see like how much I
Mm-hmm.
can endure or like how faithful I can be to this person or project. And like that really like that messed me up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And this is why I'm not a big fan of this whole God told me generation.
Yeah.
Um, because love is based on readiness and willingness.
Right. Hmm.
Okay. Can I give a this is really good. Can I give a passage of scripture?
Of course.
Oh, great. I'll give two. Um, not that it's necessarily needed,
Hmm.
but something that I think you want to keep in the back of your mind.
Hmm.
1 Corinthians 13. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wronged. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. Uh, and then it goes on to say, but love will last forever. Um, okay, number one, I just want to ask off rip, and this is more of a rhetorical question. Does any of this sound like what you've experienced with him? Yes or no?
Not none of it. No.
Great. So secondly, when we talk about love and this aspect of love that is described here, this love is a person as a reflection of the unconditional love of Christ that is being described by Paul in this writing.
Hmm.
Would Christ ever give clearance to said treatment of his daughter in said way?
Yeah, absolutely not.
No? Oh, great. Case closed. Okay, we don't even need to go into the next verse, right? Like we get it.
Yeah.
We get it. And so like this is something that again we'll learn and we'll grow in.
Hmm.
And it comes with us just growing closer and more in maturation and
Hmm.
understanding that yes, even though somebody might define themselves as this, that don't mean that that's actually who they are.
Right.
And we test the spirit. and we
Mm-hmm.
test it by the fruit. Okay, thank you, Lord, because we test it by the fruit of evidence. Jesus says in, I'm gonna bring it up. Oh my God, yeah, this is this. I wasn't even gonna go here, but I'll end it here. Um, Luke 7:35. Shout out to my main man Luke. Luke 7:35
Mm-hmm.
says this. All right, so I'm gonna read a little bit of the context. Uh, so he says this. To what can I compare? This is verse 31. To what can I compare the people of this generation? Jesus asked, how can I describe them? They are like children playing a game in the public square. They complain to their friends, we played the wedding songs, you didn't dance. So we played funeral songs and you didn't weep. For John the Baptist didn't spend this time eating bread or drinking wine, and you say he's possessed by a demon. The Son of Man, on the other hand, feasts and drinks, and you say he's a glutton and a drunkard and a friend of tax collectors and other sinners. But wisdom is shown to be right by the lives of those who follow it. Wisdom is later proven by its results. I know it's of God if what was said to come from God
Mm-hmm.
came to pass.
Mm-hmm.
And it's shown through the life of the individual or
Mm-hmm.
individuals in which said statement is surrounded by
Mm-hmm.
their decisions and the results.
Mm-hmm.
And the result here doesn't match whatever crap was said from said individual over this relationship and over you.
Yeah.
Sis, you know what to do. Let it
Yeah.
go. And I mean, let it go today.
Yeah.
Send that text message right now
Yeah.
and go.
Yeah. You're right. You're right.
Don't waste another day. I'm telling you. Because at this point, it would be like if you walk away and don't do anything from this,
Mm-hmm.
we're just now seeking attention.
Mm-hmm.
We're now just choosing
Mm-hmm.
to remain with this problem. And as my good friend Dr. Elijah would say, a problem with a solution is a choice.
Mm. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
So let's make it happen. Like today,
And yeah.
now.
Yeah, you're so right. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I
I hope it was
appreciate you.
helpful. I
It
hope
was
it was helpful.
so helpful.
I hope it was helpful. And
Thank you.
yeah, again, if you update me with anything, send me a message, follow for
Hmm.
more, respond with more questions if you have them. But
Absolutely.
don't waste no more time. You got
Yeah.
it. Send the
Thank
message,
you.
walk away today.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Take it easy.
You too.
All right, put a one in the chat if that made sense. Listen, fam, listen. I think it is really important, really, really important, um, that we pay attention to the behaviors of other people. Words are not fruit, actions are. And God, in no way, shape, or form, speaks in the language of gaslighting, narcissism, and narcissistic languages for his sons or daughters in relationship to someone that he is green lighting to give. And so just keep that in mind. Like I don't care what nobody's nah, fam. Nah. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And one of the things that we, again, I want y'all to get comfortable. Um, this is how I know social media is a fake place. This is how I know social media is a fake place because there's so many people who will stand on the aspect of strict programs, but won't do things that a strict program really requires. Um, I'm really comfortable. I'm really comfortable of just hanging the phone up on somebody. Call me rude, call me distasteful. You're not finna sit here and play on my phone like I don't pay the bill. In what world? So I'm gonna say what needs to be said. Hey, yeah. So I'm just saying, I'm done. This relationship is no longer here. I'm good, and I'm leaving. And all this back and forth, all this. So you really gonna do this? Why is this? Why is that? Like, no, because we've been through this. We know what this looks like in the end, right? We know what this looks like in the end. So we've already been there. You're not gonna sit here and play on my phone. You're just not gonna do it. Jesus already takes you as you are. That don't mean I got to. Jesus already did that. So you need to go on and get yourself together. Yeah, absolutely. It gets to a point where you don't need to justify your decision. I think don't live in a place where you feel that you have to justify every decision you make. That you have to give a clarity call. Now, there are times where people are willing to give those answers, but it's exceptions to the rule. It's not because you're demanded to have an answer. Be okay with saying your piece and walking away and not having to explain yourself because we don't need to explain ourselves. That is one of the most freeing things you can do because I don't feel burdened to do that, and I'm at peace with it. So I hope that made sense. I hope that made sense. All right. Um. Yep. But think about it, Queen Sylvia. It's hard. It was hard, but a lot of why it was hard was because of the discomfort we were experiencing. A lot of it was hard because for the first time we were able to interrupt certain neural pathways that all this time up to that point told us that in order for us to either be loved, receive love, in order for us to be who we wanted to be, who we were supposed to be, I have to give an explanation for why I'm doing said thing. Because I don't want you to be mad at me. I don't want you to be upset with me. I want you to see it from my point of view so everyone is on an even playing field and everyone's okay. It's the same thing that plays at the role of why women don't like a lot of women naturally don't like to reject somebody that they can see has a good head on their shoulders or makes sense. A lot of green flags. I just don't like them. They're not my type. And you'll see them all over the place. I feel so bad. I don't want to say no. It's not because it's not because saying no is the wrong thing. It's because you're afraid of hurting feelings. So you lie to protect the feelings of other people. And I'm just like that, like protecting the feelings of other people was never in the job description that God designed you with. It's something that we picked up and we learned, behaviors that we learned. And it's in a lot of ways just pointing to a lack of safety somewhere. And so, in order to interrupt it, sometimes we do have to do the thing that is the most challenging and the most daring, and that is an action. And that action is, I'm done with you. No more, no less. I'm not here to explain. I'm not here to give additional words. I'm not here to, because now we're staying too long. We're staying too long. We're giving too many explanations. We're trying to get this person to see it the way we do, but we already have known and have evidence that they aren't going to do that. They're going to push this boundary. So we just need to be firm in it and say, hey, no, this is not happening anymore. Click, block. I know I've had our conversations on blocking. I'm not a big fan of it, but when it comes to certain extents where you're in a danger of being harassed and all the things, that's when blocking makes the most sense, y'all. And this is to protect your safety and your peace. And so I definitely hope she took advantage of that. And anyone else who was listening and maybe you're in a similar situation, take advantage of that. Walk away and don't look back and choose to value your peace enough. Choose to value the peace God has already given you enough to not put it in the hands of somebody who doesn't deserve it, who hasn't earned it, and who is bound to mishandle it because of their unwillingness to deal with what's bothering them. And don't let people guilt trip you into staying because of their inability to handle no. Because of their inability to handle the weight of their consequences to the poor decisions they've been making that have constantly impacted you negatively over and over and over again. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I'm not here for it. I'm not here. I done told y'all before. I don't play with. I don't play with y'all. I really don't. I don't play with y'all. I don't have that type of time. So if you coming over here, just know you gonna get right. I just don't. I don't. I don't make time for the abundance of foolishness that people move with. Man and woman, don't matter. I just don't play about it. I know the foolishness when I see it. Get right, AP. To the left, to the left. Everything you own in the box to the left. Come on, man. Get right or get left. Straight like that. Get right or get left. Ask anything. Ask anything. What's your question? This will be reposted. Kamani, this will be reposted. Pay attention to my YouTube. It's Coach Sean Walker. Everything's the same. These will be reposted over on YouTube. Okay. So be on the lookout for that. I got a lot in line. So absolutely. What's your question? Ask your questions. Ask them away. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What's up, Vert? Good to see you. Good to see you. How you living? How you living? Okay, while we're in this wanted reassurance. So I missed that. Carly. I didn't know you was cooking like that. I missed it. I missed it. I missed it. Ahab wanted reassurance so bad that hundreds of prophets were given lies to tell him, you better talk your ooh, you better talk your talk. You better talk your talk. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Anybody will lie to you to feel good. Hey, catch it, catch it. Can I add one to that, Carly? Can I add one to that since he's in the room? Since he's in the room, can I add one? Can I add one? Is she in the chat? I don't even know if she's in the chat. Y'all want to hear the one I gotta add? Y'all want to hear the one I want to add? Put a one in the chat. I want to share it. I want to share it. Y'all want to hear the one I want to add? I love what Carly said. So Ahab wanted reassurance so bad that hundreds of prophets were given lies to tell him. Right? I want to add one. Um Hezekiah wanted reassurance so bad that he opened up his entire palace to people who didn't want him for what they were coming for. He opened his entire palace to Babylonian envoys that were willing to butter him up and love bomb him to take advantage of what he showed them to come back and attack him years later. Hezekiah wanted reassurance so bad that instead of being grateful for the 15 years God extended on his life, he went ahead and opened his entire palace up to people who meant him no good, all for the sake of being validated and appraised by someone who had higher status than him. What's the translation? Well, just like Ahab, it's probably beneficial that we learn to be observant with what's given and learn to give little at a time to watch what people do with what's given. Because that is the connection to discernment. Y'all don't want to y'all don't want to have them kind of conversations, do y'all? Y'all don't. Y'all, hey, Carly, you the real one. You the realest. You the realest. You the realest. Like that, we have to be mindful. We have to be mindful. We have to be mindful. The Bible is the greatest commentary the Bible got. It's the greatest commentary the Bible got. It's the great. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. This is like Hezekiah is a great example and a great implication of what happens when you don't choose to live in the validation that God has already given you. Because if you're not careful, somebody of greater status, greater access, greater availability will come to you and butter you up just to get access to parts of you that they never should have had, that then will leave you open and vulnerable. That doesn't just mean you pay for it, but people behind you pay for it too. So the answer isn't to shell up and to hide. The answer is to give little at a time and pay attention to what is given. Pay attention to how somebody handles what's given. I'm going to tell you something about me that I don't mind you knowing, because this isn't something I'm scared of getting around, but it's a test to see how you'll respond. How will you respond with this little I gave you that I don't mind other people knowing, but this is going to give me information to know, can I trust you? Because there's no reason I should tell you this and then I should hear something else from other people around us that I've only told you that is now coming back to me, not from you. Paying attention to that. Paying attention to that. Paying attention to that. I'm telling you, it's a different world out here. It's a different world. I didn't know Carly was cooking like that. Shout out to Carly, man. Shout out to Carly. Um, ooh wee. Mm, mm, yep, it's in Kings. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes prophets are influenced by a lying spirit. Very true. Gotta be careful. Being intentional, and we grow with it. Um, let's see here. Was there any other questions? So wait, you're initiating. Why call it all? Facts. Facts. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's why I said, send the message. That could work too. And sometimes, again, I want y'all to be okay too, man. Like, I'm gonna say this. Uh, oh no, 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 Dev. Yeah, share what's up, man. This is a safe space as always, and I'll share this too, man. There is a time. There is a time, y'all. I want this to be known. There is a time where you don't need to tell someone you're walking away. I know we live in a culture where ghosting is predominantly not just a man thing, but a negative thing. Um, but there's a difference between ghosting and making a valid decision to walk away from someone who's consistently choosing to disrespect you. Two totally different things. When someone is ghosting you, typically that is a behavior that is coming off of reactions, or I shouldn't say reactions. It's a behavior shown to decisions or actions made that didn't deserve it. You were kind, you were loving, you were consistent, you talked to them, you connected with them, all the things, right? So there was nothing in your part that earned a ghosting. You were authentic, you were everything you were supposed to be. This person literally is just by way of ghosting you, not willing to deal with whatever they're struggling with internally that leads them to shame, that leads them to hide, that leads them to blame. Okay. But when you're choosing to just simply walk away from somebody who doesn't honor you, respect you, who has chosen time and time again to overstep boundaries and has yet to want to actually fix those, constantly mishandling your heart, all the things, sometimes no. The best thing you could do is walk away and not say anything too. Because some people have to learn in a difficult fashion. And the way that they learn is by recognizing how good they had it, but they didn't know how good they had it till you walked off. They didn't know how good they had it till you walked off. And some people have to learn that way. Yeah. Walk away and don't give an explanation. Walk away and don't give an explanation. And it takes leaving for them to change. Yeah. So like I'm and again for me from a healthy like and I think there's healthiness in that aspect too. I've grown to be okay with just saying what was needed. Okay. If you're in a relationship, you're noticing things, it's getting toxic, it's getting bad, it's getting this, that, and the third. Hey, I'm no longer interested in carrying this relationship anymore. I'm done with you and leave. Right? Like that's enough. I'm not gonna go back and forth with you. So I'm a big fan in that too. Um Epiphany said, "How do you get rid of the negative thoughts?" Well, why are we trying to get rid of negative thoughts? And why is the goal to get rid of negative thoughts? To never have another negative thought again. So I'm going to answer the question with a question. Would love your thoughts. I don't see any other questions, so we're just in here chilling. And I'll follow up. Uh, good on him, performative or not, ingrained. Yep. Leave without notice. There you go. There it is. Leave without notice. Be okay with that too. Um, Sending love from Brooklyn. Shout out to Gus. Just because she come back doesn't mean you take her back. Facts. Are similarities a good thing with a person in Christ you're talking to from the beginning? Similarities can always be a good thing. Similarities can be a good thing. I think opposites have a tendency of attracting, but similarities can be healthy too. Um, just realize that the similarities need to be deeper than y'all just believing in the same Jesus. Because believe it or not, y'all know a lot of people who believe in Jesus just like you, and you're not attracted to them. So, what does it mean when she told me she wants time and space? Yeah, to honor that. I don't know exactly what she could mean by that. I think there's a lot of things to say that. Um, I think there's a lot of things to say towards that, but I would say, yeah, when someone asks for time and space, honor that. Honor that. How do you get rid of the negative thoughts? Yeah, again, I answered that one with a question. Um, I would say one of the things, and the reason why I say that, let me not leave you on a cliffhanger there. Dealing with negative thoughts, y'all, I want y'all to imagine just for a second, like a walking on a crosswalk. All right. You hit the little button and you're seeing what's up, cookies, and you're seeing cars go back and forth on the street. Um, and typically you might catch a car going down the street that catches your eye, and you might stare down the road, right? And you might watch it down, down, down the road. Okay. Um, until you can't see it anymore because it gets lost in the traffic later down and up the street. And then you might again recenter your attention back to what's in front of you, the crosswalk in front of you, until it's time to see the crosswalk sign change and you walk across. Thank you for the rose, Lisa. How you living, sis? Good to see you. So the biggest thing that I'm making in this entire analogy is that the cars represent your thoughts, and obviously you are you on the crosswalk. But you notice when you see the cars go, you don't run with the car, you don't, match the car's speed, you don't become the car, you don't jump into the car. you stand still. You still have autonomy. You still are able to be aware of what's happening, right? You just witnessing the cars outside of you at different speeds go across the street. Thank you for the heart, me. So much love, Lisa. Thank you, thank you. So what I'm saying is that there is a need for you to be willing to recognize that you are not your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. And so because you're not your thoughts, even when negative thoughts come by, it's us allowing those thoughts to flow instead of trying to cling or have somewhere to put them. That is actually going to make a difference in us being okay with those thoughts surfacing. Because our job isn't to control or suppress those thoughts. We take it one thought at a time, but we also recognize that that's just chatter, mind chatter, programming, and we're just being mindful of when it shows up instead of trying to cling to various stories and meanings behind the thought we're having, or making the goal to be, hey, I want these negative thoughts to disappear. Because what's crazy is the average human thinks hundreds of thousands of thoughts a day, and majority of them are negative. So it's not to say that we're going to always live in a place where we're thinking negative thoughts. Eventually, we're going to be so mindful of them and we grow into this practice of mindfulness with them that we're not bothered by them. And we can redirect our attention to abundance. We can redirect our attention to the present. We can redirect our attention to what's around us and still be okay. And so we're moving forward with that, and we're letting go and not clinging to it. That's one simplified way to look at it. Um, uh, Queen, how to see um Queen Kari, how to see through the first or 2 month facade. Okay, before I answer this question, did you handle your business? We all about application around here. I don't want you to wait till the stream over. Handle your business. Hey, I'm done with you. Send that message. Gone. Gone. And I'll come back and answer. I'll come back and answer. It's all love. It's all love. I want us to move applicably too. Um, I'm probably gonna circle back to that question anyway. How do you detect someone's truly for you in Christ? Um, Time, presence. Um, I like it to this, man, that Genesis speaks to this formula that God basically talks about within the summarization of creation. It's what chapter is that? I'm forgetting the exact chapter. I just looked at it the other day. Um, where basically God was just saying that as long as the earth um, is around, there will be, seed and harvest, cold and heat. Um, okay, this is Genesis chapter 8, 22. As long as the earth remains, there will be planting and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night. And so he's basically just centering this aspect of seasons, seed, time, and harvest, right? So time is necessary. That's kind of the biggest picture. Time is necessary. Um, I'm more so concerned, man, and I really say this not from a place of trying to tap dance around questions, but because I've been there when I've tried to look at all the signs, how is someone really into me, all the things. I think again that just takes us from being as present as possible. I think what you have the best opportunity to do to know if someone is truly for you in Christ, connect with them, be in the present with them, maximize the time spent together. What are you guys able to share with one another, to trust one another with? Paying attention to their mannerisms, paying attention to what they can handle when you share certain things with them. Okay, what is experienced in the time y'all spend together? Is this person able to witness you, and has this person witnessed you in various seasons of your life? I'm not saying it has to take you years to commit to them. Absolutely not. Life has a way of lifing. Somebody could see all seasons, fall, summer, winter, spring. People can see all seasons in a matter of 3 months because of how crazy life can be. Have they seen you when you're joyful? Have they seen you when you're sad? Have they seen you when you're angry? Have you seen them in those same areas? How do they respond? Because eventually, what you end up seeing is what I see now is easily what I'll be able to see more of in the future. And so I want to be able to receive that. I want to be able to acknowledge that and be honest about that, right? And be just being in the present. So I think that that would be how I would answer that question, man. Uh, Murdy. That's how I would answer that question. Being in the present and what's experienced and what's shared. What is the intentionality being cultivated and built there? But sometimes, man, we just make it so much about, okay, so this is a sign she did this, she did this. But I noticed, Sean said the signs of this was this, and that didn't happen. So I guess that means that wasn't. I don't really fall into that. I don't want you to fall into that either, because that's again a tactic of social media. The tips to know if someone's interested in you. Now, that doesn't mean that that can't be the case. Some of those things can show up, and some of those things can be true. I'm not disregarding that. But I say presence because that's the only way you're going to know if any of those things even show up. And sometimes we can take ourselves out of the present when I'm so focused and fixated on trying to see signs and trying to see all these other things. You know, that's the difference. So, yeah, I hope that made sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Time really is going to reveal their true colors. A fake can only maintain the act for so long. Facts. Facts. Yeah, no problem. I hope that was helpful. My boyfriend wants to stay with me even though I don't want children, but he does. Interesting. Um, is there a question in there? I don't know if I saw a question in there. So I'm coming back around. I am coming back around to answer this question from earlier. Shout out to again the Queen Kari. I don't know what I should do. I mean, he's wanting to stay with you even though he wants kids and you don't. Um, what's wrong with that? Is there something wrong with that? I mean, I think on the surface, I think it's important that everyone's honest about what they want and not try to commit in hopes that what's wanted changes in the other person's favor. I think that's important. By the way, a nice little intervention or intermission here. Be sure to send secure if you're interested in getting into my secure program designed to help you go from anxious or avoiding attachment to secure attachment. Okay. Be sure to take the free relational diagnostic at the top of my page if you want to uncover some patterns that are laying beneath the surface of your experiences with love so you can be able to change those, be aware of that. Actually, in the same diagnostic, you'll be able to click book your qualification call, and there you'll be able to scroll down or answer those questions. You'll be directed in the best direction for you to help you heal and move forward. And you'll be able to book your free qualification call or join the waitlist if the waitlist shows up. I got an active program in there waiting for you to be able to get familiar with everything we do here because spots open up weekly for you guys to engage in. And then if you want your attachment style quiz, be sure to click that same link to get that attachment style quiz. Um, I would feel guilty if he doesn't get what he wants. Yeah, so we want to pay attention to that, right? So, um, I think that's a serious conversation that I think you guys should be willing to engage in, um, because even though you're aware that he wants kids, and that I'm assuming that's a recent conversation, not something that's based off of maybe older things that you just first knew about them. I do think it's important to just converse and be like, "Hey, yeah, so I just want to be sure that we're all on the same page, right? Of what's wanted. I don't want to hold you back from some of the things you want because, like, I actually, you know, I tell people often in deciding who you connect with, you do want to take them as they are, not in hopes that, like, yes, they can grow and they can change and all the things, but one of the greatest questions I've ever heard asked towards processes of marriage is if this person were to never change, if this person were to never address certain things and issues that you see in their life, would you still love them and want to be with them? And if the answer is yes, then it's like, oh wow, dope. Like there's some legitimacy here, right? So I think the same way here. I don't want anyone to ever make a decision in hopes that, oh, she'll change her mind. He'll change her mind or his mind. Like, nah. That's not the best and healthiest way to go about it because we're ignoring it. And so I think there can be some healthy conversation that needs to be had. It sounds like it's something that's really on your heart in the sense of, you just don't want to feel guilty. Um, and you also don't want to waste time in that same regard as well. And so I think it's healthy to have some really good conversations with one another. Um, and really lay it all out there, what you want and what you're looking for. And if he's like, yeah, I still want to do it, but it doesn't come from a place of him thinking that you'll change your mind later. It's not coming from a place of all that. Um, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Because maybe that's something where he's like, okay, well, maybe that's something that he's reconsidering. Who knows? I'm never a fan of someone giving up anything that they want, and because if it's something that you genuinely, truly want fully, um, these are things that can later create resentment in connections because they'll come back around and it'll be like, man, I gave all this up for us, and now it's like I feel like I'm not getting what I need and what I want in this relationship. Um, but again, that's just where consistent conversations come into play. You know, And, maybe it could come to the point where if it's just not something that is understood, then, you might have to make the decision to end the connection. But that's only if, like, there genuinely isn't a mutual understanding and wantingness of the connection to that extent. So I hope that made sense. Don't stop believing. How do I know I'm secure and not anxious anymore? So there's plenty of signs to that. Number one is, well, I think your greatest sign is actually joining my secure program. That's where we tangibly take you through the process to be able to get there. So you're not questioning whether or not you're secure. Um, you fully know it. So I'm good, Pocket Man or Rocket Man. How are you? I appreciate you asking. So that's the first thing. So send me a secure message. I would love to get you started on the trial week. Secondly, I would say part of that, there's plenty of signs and milestones to security. And you said specifically anxious. So when you think of anxious attachment, fear is at the root. I'm clinging, I'm chasing, I'm overperforming, I'm choosing to um, constantly, what I like to say, put on PowerPoint presentations um, so that people have a reason to choose me. I can overshare, I can be extremely hypersensitive. Um, and what's amazing about anxiously attached people too is that they're really good communicators. But they're not good communicators from a place of safety or from a place of healthiness. They're good communicators and even over communicate because of the fear of being misunderstood. So you see how there's a surface experience being had, but the root of it comes from unhealthy places. And so I think that's a typical trend of anxious attachment and avoidant attachment and the branches around there. So how we deal with that, I think a milestone, instead of being fear driven, you are um, abundance driven. Okay, so you're full within who you are, where God has you. You're not living in comparison. You have a secure rhythm involved in your life. You're focused on your lane, valuing your lane and the timing of your lane, um, instead of being pushed by fear. Uh, you're being filled with love. Okay. Secure attachment gives you the ability to not just say no, but receive no. Secure attachment gives you the capacity to be able to not just reject what doesn't make sense for you, but take rejection healthily when you don't make sense for other people. Um, Secure attachment gives you the ability to love fully and abundantly without wanting to take back what you gave because an outcome wasn't favorable. So in the event that you go on a pursuit, a dating romantic relationship, and they ended up saying they're not interested, but yet there was so much you did and you showed up in such a full way, instead of looking at it and going, I wish I never gave, you're actually grateful that you gave because you realized that it wasn't in the outcome that the value stood. It was in your ability to remain authentic regardless of it. Um, that's a long way of saying that. I think there's a lot of different areas, of growth insecurity. You're not questioning your identity over the event that someone says they don't want you or isn't interested in you. You're able to not just listen and understand the emotions of other people and what they're telling you, but you're able to communicate your emotions healthily to other people. So there's an emotional resiliency and baseline that's reached. You don't allow um, you don't allow negative crash outs or experiences around those realms to keep you from communicating healthily. You're very assertive in your communicative languages. So you know how to set boundaries, you know how to receive boundaries. You're not offended by boundaries being set with you, and you're not believing to be offended when you set boundaries with others. Um, Anita, again, those are just a few ways. Um, and so I think there's plenty other where that comes from. I think you'll learn a lot if you join my secure program. Send me a secure message. I got you covered to get into the week trial to start today. She found out I had a corn addiction and left me. What should I do? Well, I don't know if there's really much you can do other than address the addiction and address what the struggles, pains, fears are behind there, um, that pushes you to go to those places. Just so y'all know, man, like I'm not in the business of trying to get people back. Wow, I've come so far. Oh, look at that. Learned a lot, huh? Yeah. Hey, listen, if you want to, you can take the um go to the same page, click go to the top of my page and click the link. You can see what your attachment style is. Be sure to just click that, scroll down, and click that gold line that says take my attachment style quiz just to see where you're at. And I'm gonna definitely take more than mine, just to see if there's a consistent thread, um, and consistency with it. All right. Um, Last thought here. Again, I'm not in the business of trying to. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't hear me say that I'm not in the business of reconciliation because I am. I think reconciliation and repair is something that needs to be talked about more, um, in these spaces, at least on what I see in content and things like that. And that's a goal of mine. As y'all can tell, I'm not necessarily I'm not, hopefully y'all can tell. I don't know if y'all can tell. I'm not someone who is just immediate. Like my first response to any and everything is to leave and walk away because I think there's a lot of nuances to be able to consider, um, in process of you making your decision. And sometimes walking away isn't necessarily the decision. Sometimes it's just, I need to consider other perspectives. Now, again, there are some, moments and stories and experiences where we dive deeper. Okay. Um, but yeah, I'm not in the business of trying to rescue or save relationships that I didn't break. So, I tell people all the time, I've told clients, hey, listen, I'm not here to save your relationship. So like don't think I'm here to put the pieces back together and y'all are gonna be able to depend on me to put like I'm no, no. What I am gonna do though is put a lot of truth in front of you both to consider, to walk through, to heal. Because I think when you heal, your decisions are better. What you see is a lot clearer. And instead of trying so hard to get someone back, you're making an effort to get you back to even make sure if the person you may want back makes sense. That's a lot better of a decision than just doing all the things you think, you know, someone said you should do in order to get someone back. And you don't even know if they make sense. They may not, especially from a healed perspective. Just got in. What's the topic? Oh yeah, man, we're about to close out, Eco. I appreciate you a ton, man. We were just talking about marriage isn't the goal. Presence is, right? So I've talked a lot about that. A lot of people make marriage the goal and end up in relationships prematurely. That leads to premature separations. People make marriage the goal in the sense that once they get married, now life becomes abundant and available to them. Many people make marriage the goal in the sense of now that I get married, I no longer have to pursue, connect, love this person in the same way I did when I was courting them, dating them. So effort is lost, consistency is lost. Um, a lot of different meanings behind marriage being the goal for people. And I try to explain that marriage isn't the goal. Um, Presence is. And if we're willing to be present, there's a lot more that we can get out of relationships. We don't feel hurried to marriage. And marriage now seems like a natural flow of occurrence of sequences in the relationship. Remember, I talked about earlier, and maybe again, I know Eco, you might not have been here, but I talked about earlier seed plus time plus dirt equals harvest, right? And so I like this is my whole like when I think about relationships, I think about being a gardener. I think about being a gardener. No, I'm not married. I do desire to be married. I'm not married. No, no, no. I am surrounded. Um, Bet Victoria, I got you. I am surrounded by a lot of successful marriages from coaches and mentors and things of that sort. I've gotten a lot of insight to those things. I've had the privilege of speaking to people who are early married or are dating or something like that. I've only talked to one couple that I've had the privilege of actually sitting in front of to connect who's married, newlyweds. Um, just due to just some minor things that they were wrestling with, but no, I do desire to be married. So of course, this is coming from a single perspective. Um, but however, I do think this is coming from a different in depth connect and context as well. That's worth considering um, from all the content that we do here. But all I'm saying though is that yeah, there's a willingness, man. We got to be willing to be curious, man. It's about presence, availability, connectivity, right? I get the most out of the relationship when I'm present. And the only way I can be most present with others is when I'm present with me. And I think when that's the goal, like we're not hurrying the marriage, it flows, it makes sense, it's not forced. Um, it's something that we're excited for, it's something that we build, it's something that we cultivate. Um, it's something that we're open with one another to creating and growing more and more in, right? And so there's a lot of that there as the main focus. And again, this is going to be reposted on YouTube. So if you missed any of it, man, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Coach Sean Walker. All my handles are the same, and this will be reposted sometime soon. I probably will put this ahead of the ones that I have in line right now because I think this was a really good one that I think people can benefit from re-listening to again. Um, I want to add Victoria. This will be my last caller. So these are the last two things that I'll address in this live today. Again, be sure to send me a secure message if you're interested in getting to my secure program. The first week is free. As a trial, I want to get it over to you so you can start becoming secure. So be sure to do that. So the Queen I'm messing it up. Kari, how to see through the first or 2 month facade. So this was actually maybe in connection to what she mentioned earlier. I just want to be sure to answer this as well. Um, well, I think one of the best ways, listen, the sometimes, especially when we're dealing with people who are like, putting on masks and presenting themselves to be something that they really aren't. One of the most important things that yeah, absolutely, Victoria. I got you. Let me answer this question and I got you. One of the things that we have to be mindful of in this process is sometimes when people are putting on masks, it's hard to tell the difference. It's hard to see who's who and what's what. Um, we want to be, this is where I start talking even more about the aspect of presence. Because sometimes it's not that they were a different person than they presented themselves to be, although that is the experience. I'm not in any way, shape, or form denying the experience because that's very real. People do switch up. People are really good at manipulating. People really are good at hiding themselves. But when I say things like being present, what gives us the leverage is slowing down. Because sometimes slowing, like we haven't slowed down long enough to be able to see somebody fully. I love that, Victoria. Presence is pattern recognition before chaos. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put that. So when we're present, this is giving us the opportunity to be able to see somebody as they are and wait people out. Like, we're looking for threads of consistency. I'm looking for what they're consistent in. I know they're saying a lot. I know they're screaming from the rooftops of who they are and what they can do and but what are their behaviors telling me? That's the first place I look for. And now I'm looking for consistency behind those behaviors. And that's going to tell me more about who someone really is than what they say they are. And so that first month or 2 month facade can be challenging if we're not present enough to see what this person is and who this person is about. Um, and we have to be living in honest. We have to live honestly, right? We have to live honestly, and we have to live in a place where we are moving in acceptance. I know that there's a lot of if, ands, or buts we would love to give to somebody. I know there's a lot of like, oh, but they have this going on and they got a lot going on in their life. Yeah, we all do. We all do. Maybe not to the same degree as other people, and that's not to minimize what other people go through, but we all do. And so we don't want to necessarily give somebody's lack of care or someone's tragic context to then give them an excuse to stay that way, or to give ourselves an excuse to stay with them in hopes that we'll put on an S on our chest and become Superman. I need you to remain Clark Kent at all times. Remain Clark Kent. This isn't about us saving them and trying to be the savior for them. You couldn't save yourself. Jesus, that's why Jesus came. So like let's not try to do what only Jesus could do. Let God be God and you be you. And you being you is recognizing your capacity and being like, yeah, that just ain't for me, man. That like I don't have room for that. So like let me move to the side a little bit. And yes, people will fall on their face. People will, drown. People will do all those things, but that's not my responsibility. I can't keep putting myself at the mercy of other people's suffering. I can't keep putting myself at the footstep or at the door of someone else's pain and using myself as a doormat in hopes that they would get better. Because that's not fair to me. And that most certainly isn't what God is calling me to be. Even though we'll wrap spiritual language around that, God isn't calling me to be a doormat to somebody else. What God is inviting me to is recognizing, hey, thank you for the heartbeat. What is the capacity that I have? And can I be on the receiving end of this? Because when I see a little bit of something, it's only a greater chance that I'm going to see more of it moving forward. And so I just have to honestly ask myself, can I support that? And a lot of times we, depending on what it is, we don't. And we want to be honest about that and not drag that on and not feel obligated to stay there. So yeah, that facade can't be held for long. I love what I think it was who said that. Voice of Hope, yeah. Or no, I don't know who said that. I'm trying to credit the right people. Yeah. Wait. That facade cannot be okay. Yeah, Shariah. Thank you. I'm tripping. Yeah, thank you, Shariah. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, that facade can't be held for long. So your best friend is going to be time. Your best friend is going to be consistency. Your best friend is going to be the very thing you're afraid of doing, and that's waiting. That's going to be your best friend. That's going to be your best friend because they can't keep that for long. Okay. Last caller.
Hello.
Victoria, what's happening, sis? How you living?
I'm doing good, blessed, and highly favored.
Uh-oh. What's up?
What's up?
What's up? What's your question? Sound like you got some oil over there. What's your question?
You already know. So I was just I was on a live earlier and I was just trying to contemplate like the purpose of marriage and how as a woman in the scriptures it says that if you don't have a husband, you're in direct servitude of your creator. So therefore, instead of having to worry about the needs of your husband. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with serving the Most High's children, husband, family, kids, whatever it may be. I just think that when you are choosing to live in your singleness and learning to stay isolated, you are building the kingdom in a more impactful way, because you can directly pinpoint the needs of the kingdom versus going through another human being, which may be your husband. And for males, it might be a different experience because you guys are supposed to be the head of the home. But it's almost like working at a job and trying to convince the CEO through your manager to make changes to the company structure versus being in direct communication with the CEO and not having to go through anyone. If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
That's such an interesting picture. So you referenced something. I want to be sure I caught. You mentioned wives. What again?
Basically, wives are in servitude to their husbands, and then the husband is in servitude to the Lord. So it's a chain of command versus when you choose to be in your singleness as a woman without the marriage structure, you are in direct communication and direct servitude to the Lord.
Okay. So are you reflecting on? Um, let me see.
Basically, I'm reflecting on how marriage is pushed on women so hard. And if we're single, we're looked down upon. And
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it's
I
like, oh,
got you.
you're not doing what you're supposed to do as a wife or as a woman because you're married or you're single. And a lot of men
Oh.
don't believe that women are single by choice. A lot of men think that women are single because their standards are too high or they're
Mhm.
not good women. And it's like,
Mhm.
truthfully, I'm no good to any man if I'm not in direct alignment with my creator. If I feel like me and him are missing a beat, then I'm not good for anyone, man or woman.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what would you say is
Okay, thank
your
you. It's the black Honda right here. Thank you.
what would you
Sorry, I'm
say?
listening.
No, you're good. What would you say is your is there a question? Because I do have a thought and I have a very beautiful passage of scripture I want to bring up.
Well,
Um
no, I
yeah.
don't have a direct question. He says in your caption here says marriage isn't the goal, and I
Mhm.
agree because I think that my goal of all goals is to make sure I'm in the book of life and I am crowned as his, faithful servant at the end of the day. My role with
Facts.
having children or being I think a lot of men categorize women, and not just men, society as a whole is like, okay, you need to be a helpmeet, you need to be an
Mhm.
offspring creator. But at the end of the day, there's so many children on this planet that you can help that don't have to come out of your body, and there's so many men that could have support from you that may not be your husbands. They might not be your husband, they could be a brother, they could be a cousin, and they still need feminine support. It might not be in a covenant bond like a marriage or a wife duty, whatever, but I just think marriage is not the goal on this planet. A marriage is supposed to represent the bond between the Most High and us as the bride. That is the marriage, and that's the purpose of marriage. That's the only physical manifestation, metaphoric comparison of God. So therefore, that's why he pushes for marriage and pushes for the union. But at the end of the day, people misconstrue that to their own benefit. They try to make it seem like that's what the purpose of women is, and I
Mhm.
see that as a selfish thing. I see that as you're just trying to gain from that dual household or from that support system, and you're not leaning on God enough, clearly, because why are you pushing for me to be your help me? Why aren't you pushing for yourself to ask for help from your creator when he's the one who can do all and see all?
I mean, I you want to this is your podcast now. I don't know what more to do. I don't I don't know what more to do. I love that. I agree wholeheartedly. I think one, not everybody's going to get married.
Mm-hmm.
Two, marriage is not for everybody.
Right.
And three, there is so much beautiful value to singleness, and everyone that is single is not because they can't find nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
This.
promise you, I promise you, there's a lot of now. Again, I'll leave this up, for y'all because y'all know y'all better than anyone. Like there is plenty of like if you really wanted to, it ain't that hard.
Mm-mm.
It ain't that hard. Like I'll
No.
have a date by the end of the week and she'll be mine by the end of the month. He'll be, whatever it is. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
not that hard. Um, it's just really about being mindful of who has access to you. It's being
Mm-hmm.
mindful of the center purpose and goal and what aligns well. It's, more about being intentional with who you choose and who you connect with, all the things. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
I think singleness, people don't recognize this because I think it's been said so much without giving, I think, ample amount of context to the value of it. Singleness is
Mhm.
a gift.
Yes.
And
It's a
so,
spiritual protection if you think about it. Like if you have that
mhm,
opportunity to be single, you are defending your spirit and preserving it from those things that might other people will cling to out of desperation because they have no connection with the source.
yeah, it's very possible, right? So I think of it like, when you maybe if you find like an antique laying around the crib, grandma gave, and you don't think it has no value, so you might take it to the pawn shop, and it's
Mm,
deep when they
mm.
like, hey, so you said this was what year, and this is how long ago? Who gave this to you? Now they're
Right.
starting to look in the back. Hey, y'all come look at this. Y'all see this? And then they all of a sudden the value of that gift became so much more to you because you're understanding what you had in your hand the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same way with your singleness. Paul really talks a lot about this. He says something that's almost a cuss word that a lot of people don't come to in scripture. He says, uh, okay, I'll just read this. I'll just read this whole part.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 1 of First Corinthians 7, he says this. Now, regarding the questions you asked in your letter, yes, it is good to abstain from sexual relations, but because there is so much sexual immorality, each man should have his own wife, and each woman should have her own husband. The husband should fulfill his wife's sexual needs. The wife should fulfill her husband's needs. The wife gives authority over her body to her husband, and the husband gives authority over his body to his wife. Do not deprive each other of sexual relations unless you both agree to refrain from sexual intimacy. All the things. So I wanna come down to um yeah, I think is it here? Uh oh, no. Okay, here it is. So I'm actually gonna skip down
Mm-hmm.
to verse 32 of that same chapter. I want you to be free from the concerns of this life. An unmarried man can spend his time doing the Lord's work and thinking how to please him.
Mm.
But a married man has to think about his earthly responsibilities and how to please his wife.
Exactly.
His interests are divided. In the same
Mm.
way, a woman who is no longer married or has never been married can be devoted to the Lord and holy in body and in spirit.
Mm.
But a married woman has to think about her earthly responsibilities and how to please her husband. I am saying this for your benefit, not to place restrictions on you.
Mm.
I want you to do whatever will help you serve the Lord best with as
Mm.
few distractions as possible.
Mm.
There's a passage in here where he says, I wish all of you were like me and
Mm-hmm.
single like me, right? And so oh, here it is. He says it in verse 7 of that same passage earlier in the chapter. But I wish everyone were single, just as I am. Yet each person has a special gift from God
Thank
of
you.
one kind
You too.
or another. And so what's beautiful is like, yeah, Paul was single. He had an amazing gift. It was a different type of anointing around that gift and all the things. But he speaks highly of singleness because of what you're available to do,
You're literally
right?
free.
There's a level of availability to what you can do, intentionality to what you can create.
Yes.
Being a husband or being a wife, like you can't spend all day building your business.
Nope.
You got to go tend to the kids and everyone else in the home. But here's what's beautiful about this. That isn't to say that doing that is a distraction.
Right.
That's to say that that's also now become part of your assignment, right? So
Right.
that's become part of what you serve and what you build. Beautiful. It's all beautiful.
Right.
It's just when you're single, you have less to put your time to in regards to what relationships really offer and more to put time to what you're creating and cultivating. And all of it's a beautiful thing. I want
Yeah.
people to understand that even though the singleness demographic percentage of singleness increases, all the things, it's not all because everyone can't find nobody. Some of us
Right.
just enjoy our singleness. This is the contentment behind the singleness. And if the
Yeah.
time came where it made sense, beautiful.
Yeah.
But I'm also not living a life where I'm constantly, sad or depressed in the event that that doesn't happen. And to those who
Right.
are in those places, there's some things that we have to reframe and consider and process. But yeah,
Mm.
marriage is not the goal. The goal for even a marriage, and for people who are in marriage, is to supposed to still remain the same: to serve
Mm-hmm.
God, and love people.
Mm-hmm.
So if that is supposed to, if you're telling me you're getting married to replace that, then you have a wrong idea of what marriage is, because all of that is going to come together and play a role as we grow and do life together. I think there is immense value in where we are. I've told people before, marriage isn't the goal, presence is. And you said
Mm-hmm.
it beautifully in the chat, regarding presence. The more that I'm present, the more value I see around me. The more value I see around me, the more I'm willing to just simply embrace it, live in it, frolic in it, whatever you want to say. That
Mm-hmm.
allows me to be as full as possible. I There was a time where I used to look at relationships and be like, "Dang, I really want something like that." Until I realized the very feelings I thought I could only experience there, I learned I could experience in my now.
Yes.
Now the abundance to get into that is only increasing.
And may I say something real quick?
Yeah, please.
So I do think, well, there's obviously a biological pull to have a relationship and procreate. The Most High made us that way so that we don't go extinct, right? So I think understanding from a biological standpoint what satisfies you outside of human physical connection will help you stay content in your singleness way longer. So practicing things late.
Ooh, hold on, you cutting out. She on that road again.
But and we have to know that there is powers and principalities working against us in that right? And you
Oh, okay. Hold on. You cutting out. No point in dating if
be
the end goal
a
is
wife
not
or a husband.
marriage. Oh, you back?
Sorry.
Sis, we didn't hear none of that. It was cutting out so
It's kind of
bad.
choppy, but I'm gonna go ahead and hop.
Okay, no worries. If you got more, hey, don't feel free to send messages, share it, and we can keep up on that. Okay, I appreciate your thoughts. They're massive. Oh, I think she about to dip. Okay, if she's in better connection, she'll come back. No point in dating if the end goal is not marriage. So that is not what we're saying. Facts over feelings, right? So that is not what we're saying, and that's the very thing that I'm actually addressing. So like everybody, we date to marry. Like yes, I think anybody who wants marriage, we clearly get that. We're not even discussing that. The point of it is everybody is there's no point in dating if the end goal is not marriage. And what people don't realize they're doing is in the event of dating, you're not being present enough to get to know who you're connecting. So the only reason you're meeting with somebody of the opposite sex is because this has to go to a place of marriage. So you don't even leave room for the opportunity to meet somebody who maybe has something you need that isn't even in a romantic field, and you can stay connected to them. This is how like the whole conversation of men and women can't be friends is like completely upside down for me. It's diabolical. Now, I do think there's different restrictions, right? If you're married, obviously there's some things you can't go and do and connect with and have. Okay, cool. And those are different conversations. But there are people who are single who don't even value friendships of the opposite sex. Because if I'm connected to you and if I'm in the proximity of you, it's either going to look like we're dating or it has to be that I'm interested in you. The only reason I'm friends with you is because I have to eventually get room enough to date you and to court you. Because, well, why are we hanging out if we're not dating? Why are we hanging out? You're either my brother or my man. And then what's crazy is the brother gets tossed to the side, the sister gets tossed to the side. It's almost like a whole another realm. I completely disagree with the aspect that men and women can't be friends as singles. I even think marriages, like I think there's different, obviously boundaries and things you want to put in place where things don't get too blurred and cross the line. But I think it's absolutely asinine that men and women are not suggested to be friends in a single space. I think that's crazy. And I think that just shows where our culture is in the terms of what you think. Yeah, I think females are part of that equation too. I agree. It's a lack of self control. Um, there's a lot of programming and assumptions made to those things, but that's why I address this conversation with that intentionally, because somebody will come in, marry. Why date if marriage isn't the goal? And I get what you're saying, but at the same time, if we're doing this and we're dating, and then marriage isn't something that we end up getting to as a result to dating one another, courting one another, we then believe it was a waste of time. We then believe it was, we were dumb, we were fools, all the things that we'll label. That's not the case. Like, that's a lack perspective, not an abundant one. Just like, again, I'm only going to, why am I talking to you if we don't date and if we don't learn if one another makes sense to be spouses together? To me, that just misses the entire point. And you're not present enough to even connect, because you'll never know who God could use, even in the event of them not being your significant other, that they could bless your life in abundance of ways. But yet here you are, because you're only so, and I'm not saying this is you, facts or feelings, I'm just speaking in general. Like, here someone is only thinking about, hey, this has to go into this direction, and you miss this person, you miss the opportunity, you miss the connection. And that's a shame. That's the saddest part of it all. Um, so saying we should look for a friend first instead of a partner, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, listen, I think it's a nuanced conversation. That's all I'm saying. It's a nuanced conversation. I'm saying, instead of making it about, hey, I like you, or I like what I see, this might be my wife, or going into dating and going into conversations and connections thinking that it has to go to marriage in order for this to make sense and then for this to be worth it. I'm saying, go into the connection and just be present. It doesn't have to be friendship. It may not ever turn into a friendship. That first date or first time hanging out together may not even go to a second time or a third time, or turn into a friendship, or turn into a courtship, or turn into a marriage. Can we just enjoy the one time we hung out? Can we just enjoy that to the best of our abilities, even if it doesn't go beyond this? Is that impossible to do? I think not. The only reason it is impossible is because we think it's a waste of time if it doesn't advance. I'm saying, yo, hey, I just want to hang. Let's enjoy this. Make the most of it. Everything has to have an end goal in mind. And most times, from a psychological standpoint, men think this way, right? Men are fixers, problem solvers, right? And men naturally think about goal oriented. Women are naturally detail oriented. So men come in, a goal. I got a goal. I'm looking for somebody to marry. So every girl I sit in front of has to be marriage material. Women who think detailed, right? They might not even necessarily think about the process as much as they think about the minute details happening within the moment that is informing them of whether or not this is marriage material. Because I'm imagining what my wedding day is going to look like, or I'm imagining what this person is going to look like if they're choosing to marry me. So we're looking at all different things except what's in front of us in the present. So we miss amazing relationships. We miss amazing people. We miss amazing friendships and connections, opportunities. We miss it all. I've done it way too many times. We miss it. And then we're not okay in the event that, a pursuit or a relationship that's open to us goes a little bit of a distance, doesn't turn out to be something that takes us to the altar. And then we tell ourselves, I wasted X amount of time. I wasted X amount of years, only because the goal you didn't get. The only reason you got rejected and you were told no, and then you said it was a waste of your time, was because you had a vision in mind that this was supposed to go all the way, and it didn't. And that exposes the reason we loved in the first place. You only loved so far as your outcome would take you, not as far as abundance would have you. Mm, mm, mm. So yeah, it seems okay until it becomes a distraction. Yeah. It seems wonderful. It should be. It should, like, from a place of abundance, y'all. This is where I want everyone to get to who comes across my content, coaching, who works with me, all the things. I want y'all to get a taste of security through abundance. I speak like this because I live it. There is a level of abundance that comes with this where you're not so concerned about something going a specific way for you to just be in the moment and enjoying what's happening, enjoying who you are, enjoying who you're connected to. And in the event that things start getting a little up there, you're also not tripping and offended and like, oh, it's the worst. Like, nah, fam, you can navigate that. It's a different level of love and abundance. It's a different level. I'm so full. I don't need this to be a certain way for me to love you healthily, love you properly, to care for you, and also not even allow all of that energy to mean that I'm either romantically interested in you or that it has to go the way I want it in order for this to be valuable. Because a lot of women's natural minds is like, oh, he's only doing this because he wants some, not because he actually cares. He's only cooking, he's only sending this, he's only doing this. And so you start getting very weary of certain behaviors. And of course, that's not to say that that isn't the mindset of a natural person who's thinking that way. There's a lot of energy and behaviors you can look at and you can tell, like, he's looking for more, right? Or he's wanting and interested. Like, I don't know someone who's willingly coming out of pocket of thousands of dollars to pay for something that ain't got nothing to do with them. I don't know too many people who doing that, right? I don't I don't know too many people who just willy-nilly that generous. At the same time, at the same time, not every approach, not every conversation, not every message is somebody trying to hit on you, somebody trying to connect with you, somebody trying to, you know, like we're so caught up on reading in between the lines and getting to results, we aren't present enough, so we can't even enjoy it. So like I feel like my dating experience has changed for the better when I got a hold of this. I feel like my relationships and friendships changed for the better when I got a hold of this. And as I continue to grow in it. Cause like I'm not coming to the date and being like, man, this has to be perfect, or she has to be perfect, or this has to be everything I want it to be in order to give me affirmation that this is my potential spouse, that this is a marriage, that something can come out of it. Cause I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste my money. None of it's a waste. There is a world where none of it is a waste. And you didn't get the outcome you wanted. And you're still moving forward with a smile on your face. Grateful for the time spent, grateful for what you were able to invest. None of it is a waste. Not with this level of love and abundance. That second part of 1 Corinthians 13, he said, it always protects, always hopes, always trusts, always perseveres. What? Love never fails. That doesn't mean that the relationship has to make it to marriage, otherwise it failed, which means love wasn't present. Ah, I get you on that, but I think there's another perspective to consider that might be a little bit healthier. Another perspective that might be worth considering is that in that same category of this abundance and of this love, he's actually saying that every effort you gave of being patient, kind, not recording wrongdoings, not being easily angered, not being irritable, all the things that allows us to show up in this place, being peaceful, all the things, fam, it didn't fail because love was in the midst. It didn't fail. It wasn't a failure because you didn't get rewarded. It was a failure if love wasn't at the bottom, which means it's only a failure if you were mad you did all those things because you didn't get the reward you wanted. That's the only time it's really a failure. I think that's really what Paul is getting at. It's not a failure if the outcome didn't happen. It's only a failure if you think doing all that was a waste because you didn't get your reward. Because I'm telling y'all, like across the board, don't think this is just to relationships romantically. This is to your friendships. This is to your family. This is to your coworkers. This is to everyday living. And imagine how much different your marriage looks when you apply things like this. Just be in abundance, user. That's it. Just be in abundance. Be in abundance. So when you get there, look at how much different your marriage changes. Look at how much different longevity of relationships change. Look at how much different your connectivity with one another looks like, where you're not afraid to just simply connect and be present and don't feel like it's a waste because it didn't lead to sex later that night, because it didn't lead to whatever you wanted. Like, think about how much different it looks. This is the kind of love we want to rest at. This is the kind of love we're called to before we get to marriage. Now, I'm not saying that you need to have this full down and rooted before you get to marriage. Don't hear that. I'm saying we're called to strive to live at this level of love before marriage. And when we get to marriage, and if we have marriage, if we have relationships, this is the kind of stuff that will continue to expose where we really are and invite us to continue growing further. So there's plenty of people who will get married and don't have this type of concept that's actually applied. And marriage will be the very thing that invites you to it. Some of us are starting, we'll get married, and it's going to continue to invite you into it. Some of us are there, you're going to get married, and it's going to continue inviting you into it. It's layers and levels. We don't have to be perfect to get married or to be qualified for marriage. We just need to be willing. We just need to be willing. That's it. You go through Genesis to Revelation, there is not a scripture that I have found so far, and I'll just speak for me. There is not a scripture I have found so far where God's like, so this is what you need to do, before you have marriage. Yes, in the garden we see job and we see purpose and all those things. Okay, I'm leaving those alone. But I'm more so talking about all the things that people will come up with in their minds that disqualify them from marriage. I have a lust problem. I have a pride problem. I have a this problem. I have a this problem. No, you're disqualifying yourself, and God isn't even looking at that and going, yeah, well, I'm going to hold your spouse back another 5 years till you figure this out. No, we think Magic Sky Daddy, as people don't say out loud but subconsciously think, there's a Sky Daddy up there, and he's just playing chess and moving people around in my life and keeping me from things in my life. Like, nah, bro, that ain't he don't even operate like that. He don't even operate like that from Genesis to Revelation. So it's just like, I want y'all, like, this is that kind of stuff I want y'all to think about. And I'm just introducing conversations like this. What's crazy, facts over feelings, is I disagree with that. Not to give permission to sleeping around, because people will hear that and be like, oh, so you're no. I disagree with that. I do think what it does delay, not necessarily your kingdom spouse, because I think if there's nothing, and I think this is the stuff that we forget, God does not God God does not move in this aspect, y'all, where it's like all of a sudden you do something and you mess up, you make a mistake, and then all of a sudden God is just holding back stuff. Like, I think that's coming from various different experiences that we have grown and been trained to think of God as, and that's not really who God describes himself to be in the scriptures. I don't necessarily think that you doing that holds God back from that. I think nothing can stop God from showing somebody up in your life that ends up being a spouse. I'm saying, however, what it can delay, there's a lot of other things it can delay. I don't think it delays your kingdom spouse, as many people might try to paint it. I think it can delay your fullness. I think it can delay your ability to live full and live abundant. Yeah, see, but again, you see how, like, okay, so if you're battling with lust, you need to deal with that first. I think, I think that is another religious tactic or rule. I'm not saying that's you, and I'm not saying that's what you're doing. I'm saying that that is another rule that is placed on people to keep them from engaging in something that is supposed to be a sanctification process. Do you know how many godly sanctified, you know how many godly marriages are presented in this life, and these people are secretly dealing with all kinds of stuff? So was their marriage a sham before he gave up pornography? Was their marriage a sham before he gave up? No, fam. God was in the present and midst and blessed that entire union, knowing those struggles were there. I think that's crazy, personally. Like, I do not, like, of course there are things that you want to be intentional about and you still want to deal with, right? Like, I do think that, but I don't think it's necessarily something that you feel like, yeah, like, this is, if I overcome this, it's going to qualify me for marriage. That's kind of how I heard it. And I could be wrong, facts over feelings. So I don't necessarily want to, like, Yeah, I'm right, you're wrong. And that's not this conversation. And I don't want to come with that energy. But I just want to open up with like the curiosities, like, because I listen to that and I'm like, man, that sounds like another one of those like, okay, if I do this, then I feel fully qualified. And I don't even think that's what the scriptures point us to, man. I don't. Because I think it's another disqualification that people will use to keep them from out of relationships or out of connections. I guess it's another thing I got to handle. Just like men will tell themselves it's finances. I got to earn another 100K before I can do this. It's like, nah, I don't think so, fam. Yeah, see, but the idea of God choosing for you, God chooses. So is that what's up, Kathy? Is that saying God chooses? God can choose who you marry? Is that what you're saying? Because if that is the case, I would disagree. I would say God doesn't choose. So if God literally invites us, God, I love it, user, you talking. I don't think so, man. I think all of it's a choice. I don't think I think just like choosing to follow Jesus is a choice. If he's not going to choose who follows Jesus, why would he choose who you marry? That's the question I ask, and I don't know if I've ran into anybody who could actually give a valid answer. So you can ask God in prayer to find you a wife. Yes. No one's denying that. But realize that you actually are opening you're inviting him to open your eyes, and guess what? He's going to there's possibly going to be plenty of people that are highlighted to you that make sense to marry, and out of that you choose. Adam didn't have a choice. I think that's an interesting perspective. I think that's an interesting perspective. I think Adam chose to name her. So he didn't choose. Obviously God created Eve from his rib, but I want you to pay attention to this aspect cuz one, those are the first two humans. So I don't know if that's necessarily something that we want to lean on and be like, "Hey, this is evidence God chooses for everyone." I would say this though. Pay attention to what Adam names Eve. Adam names Eve. Eve doesn't even come into the picture as her name until later. And watch this too. I love what Kayla said. So I want you to pay attention to this because this is really good. Kayla said you need to develop the discernment to know if she's a good choice, but we still choose. I love this, Kayla. So that just thought of something for me. So Adam was presented animals and named the animals, and then was presented a woman out of his rib that he named woman and he named wife. So I look at that and go, okay, so there's still a distinction that Adam was able to be to be an example of, where he did not confuse this woman for an animal. And so then when we talk about God confirming Rebecca for Isaac, let's also talk about is this where they got married and he sent them? So I love that chapter. So God confirmed. Okay, we can use that. But let's stay with that. Um there's a specific, and we can go bar. I'm not going to go bar for bar. I'm not going to be here arguing. Okay, obviously that's not what you're doing, Sylvia. But we're not arguing. But this is really good because these are the kind of conversations I like having. Um, so if we even look at the story of Isaac and Rebecca, right? This is one of my favorite passages of scriptures too regarding relationships. This is the passage I want y'all to pay attention to. Okay. Um uh yep, he gives a drink. Okay. So pay attention to verse 49. This is all in context, by the way. Okay. Um confirm the choice he picked for you. I think he can confirm a choice. I mean, I don't again, I think we're almost playing semantics somewhat, but I want you to pay attention to this. I think this is really good. This is what kind of helps me see, like, maybe it wasn't necessarily that God chose Rebecca for him. It was more so of a willingness on both people to come together, because when there's willingness and readiness and God in the midst, the marriage and relationship can work. Verse 49 in the same context of Genesis 24, which is the story of Isaac and Rebekah. Okay, we know the servant of Abraham, he sends him, he makes him an oath. If you don't find, if, and this is interesting too, he says, if you don't find a girl in this land, don't go to where we came from. He says, just know that you're free of this oath. Thank you, Queen Sylvia. You know exactly where I'm going. There's a willingness and readiness. So sometimes these conversations, if we're not careful in how we present them, can almost give some inclusion that if I'm able to say God said and someone else says God said, then this has to happen. I'm like, because the whole God said terminology rubs me the wrong way. Because now you're giving yourself permission to impede and intrude on somebody's decision of you by trying to over spiritualize it and say it's God. And that gives you, and I think that's kind of wild. So pay attention to this. I'm not even going to that part yet, but that's a great point. Verse 49 says this: so tell me, will you or won't you show unfailing love and faithfulness to my master? Please tell me yes or no, and then I'll know what to do next. Here I am presenting an opportunity, and you get to choose. And if you would have said, and basically this is assuming, this text is presenting an assumption that if they were to have said no, he would have went on his merry way. He prayed, his eyes were opened, he saw Rebecca, she did the things that he specifically prayed for. So yes, that's a confirmation. And he made a decision. And eventually Rebecca made a decision too. Are you willing to go with this man? She says, yes, I will go. So I just look at that and I just listen to that. And I'm like, man, how tough is it? How different is it? I think there's a choice in all of it. I'm not saying, people will always, man, God put us together, all the things. Hey, listen, I'm not here to argue that. I'm not here to argue that. I'm not here to tell you whether or not God told y'all to be together or not. I'm just saying, based off of what we find even in scriptures and in between the lines. And this is also too why in a lot of these conversations, yes, we can go tit for tat on scriptural examples and all the things and have conversation about it. I also think too, it's like, just look, like, without necessarily feeling like you got to come to the text to feel like you got to prove your point. Like, just look around, bro. Like, are you willing to be connected to somebody that you either don't know or don't have any interest in being with, even though they're talking about God told me that you were my this? Like, are you willing to be in a committed marriage and long-term relationship with somebody that, like, it's just like, nah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think that's the move. I don't think that's the move. And I think, again, if we're saying God can choose your spouse for you, I think we would have to deal with, to some extent, right? I think we would have to deal with some extent, like, is it true then that God then chooses who he wants to follow? Jesus? Because isn't that the most important thing? And if he wouldn't do that for the most important aspect of kingdom living, which is a relationship with him, what makes us believe that he would do that and impede and intrude on earthly free will that he's created to navigate relationships? I don't know. I don't know. I just think, and I think that that's a great conversation to always carry. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a great conversation to always carry. I'm not saying Jesus didn't choose to follow God. Jesus is God first and foremost. Um, I'm saying I'm saying in the event of, like, God didn't choose who would follow him. He says, hey, this is what you'll get when you follow me. And this is the entire scripture from Genesis to Revelation, by the way. This is what you get for following me. This is what you get in the event that that doesn't happen. Now, again, I am also not on the same side that, God created human beings just to send them to a horrible place of becoming barbecue meat. Um, so there's some different conversations that we could have, but I would say, um, I would say, man, look, there's a world where this free will, man, God gives us. God gives us free will to be able to choose, to be able to choose. And I think that's the most beautiful example of what love really is, because you don't want someone connected to you. Hey, I appreciate you, DC. Shout out to DC in the building. Like, we don't want to be connected to somebody who doesn't want to be here. Like, it's almost like, I want y'all to think of it like this way. How many of y'all have been forced to say an apology to a sibling of yours and you didn't even want to say it? But you knew that, according to your parents, the consequences of saying this apology, of not saying this apology, was a whooping or punishment or timeout or whatever the system was. And so you said, I'm sorry. But you said I was sorry not because you genuinely felt sorry. It was because if I didn't, this was going to be the repercussion. Do we not feel the same way in the event of being like, God told me to marry you? God told me to do this and do that. And it's like, okay, so you're here because God told you? You're here because, like, what? And it's not to say that that might not play a role. Again, there's exceptions to the rule. I'm not saying God can definitely do whatever he pleases. He's God. I'm just saying, I think from what the text suggests, there is a difference. There is a difference. There is an ability of free will. There is an opportunity to choose. Willingness and readiness plays a role. And I don't know. I don't know if I could get on the train of like, yeah, God chooses who you marry, man. I think we invite him into that process, and God definitely can open our eyes to see who makes most sense among many candidates. There's 8 billion people on this planet. There's 8 billion people on this planet. If you mean to tell me that there is only one person on this planet that makes the most sense for you at any time, and what I'm saying by this is that there's only one person. And if you miss this one person, you'll never get married. You'll never have a relationship. You'll never be connected to someone for holy matrimony. Man, I think that's pretty asinine. That's pretty asinine. Pretty asinine. There are plenty of people who you could probably look at and be like, it is pressure, Dre. It is. Like, nah, fam. I think there are plenty of people who probably make sense, but you only have one. I got this golden ticket. Y'all remember the Polar Express? I got this golden ticket. This golden ticket is all I need. I got one though. I got one. There's a lot of options, possibly, a lot of opportunity, possibly, but I got one golden ticket for who I want to do this life with. You know what I'm saying? And free will has to be exercised. That's kind of how I see it. And I'm not, again, I know everybody's at different places. So, I'm always open for you guys' thoughts and things like that. I think these conversations are great. And these conversations are great. But I just, I'm not, I'm not in the business of trying to tell somebody, hey man, you only have one person and you missed them. And they could have been all the way across sign from sea to shining sea. Never got the psalm, never knew they existed. And it's like, dang, God, I missed it. It's like, what? Nah, man. Nah. Because I don't even think we could apply that scripturally. Last thing I'll say. And then I gotta go. Appreciate y'all for sticking around for the rant. Uh Abraham marries Sarah and dies. Sarah died. And then married man, what's her name? He married another girl, had kids with her. I'm forgetting her name though. Man, that's so crazy. Yeah. I'm disagreeing with the aspect that God can. I'm disagreeing with the aspect of God choosing for someone. He didn't marry Hagar. He married Hagar was the Egyptian handmaid, man. Who was hold on, we gonna find it. We're here. Why not? Uh let's see here. Uh uh it starts with a K, man. It starts with a K. Burial of Sarah. She died. Yep. The Hittites. Yes, yes, yes. Blessed them in every way. Okay. Yep. Uh dang, y'all, I'm really looking for this mug too. Ah, Keturah. Thank you. Keturah. It's in Genesis 25. Abraham married another wife who's named Keturah. So like that kind of perspective too for me. It's like, dang, so that kind of disproves the aspect. Like there's only one. I think there's the right one. Not just not there's no such thing as the one, it's the right one. Different verbiage I would use there. Okay, yeah. I've been ranting. So I gotta go. But I appreciate y'all the time, man. Y'all been dope. I love the conversation as always. If you ask God to find your wife, he can't is what you saying. No, 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 no. So I think we're on this. I think we're saying the same thing, facts over feelings. Um we might be saying the same thing, bro. Like and we might be talking over each other low key. So I'm saying in the event, okay, I think we both agree that we can pray and ask God, Lord, help me find a wife, help me find a husband, help me find a spouse, right? I think we're in agreement with that. And we're also in agreement that in the event of praying that prayer, that God has a way of opening our eyes to see who makes sense, right? Like who makes sense to possibly connect with in that realm. Would you agree with that? Because I think we might be saying the same thing. It might just be okay. So it might just be the verbiage. Because what you're saying is like you're saying God can choose for you. How I'm interpreting that is God literally making a decision for you on who to marry, right? Which then again subsequently means that this person, and this isn't what you're saying verbatim, but this is how I'm hearing it. The person that God would choose for you to marry has no say in agreement to this. And so boom, we're just going to do it anyway because God said. So like this God choose for you is almost like I'm hearing it as if he has the ultimate decision making here, regardless of what somebody is willing or unwilling to connect with and do. That's how I'm hearing it, but I could be hearing it wrong. So the thought of God presenting a right person and rejecting them is crazy. Willingness and readiness. I have a whole video on this on my channel. You guys maybe have to go into my rejection tab. Because I talk about this. And there's a lot of people who like, how could you reject him when God said? And it's like, I think we might want to let that perspective go. If he chooses for you, means that the other person would have most likely asked God for the same. That's interesting. Very interesting. I think I don't put that past God. Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing. Maybe we are, or maybe I'm just coming to an agreement of that. Like I don't put that past God. Um, yeah, kin spirits. I actually don't know what that means, so I don't know if I could agree to that. Um, but I don't know. I that's interesting. I guess I'll just leave it at that. That's interesting. Like most times having conversations like this, I don't often hear that perspective of like somebody like two people on the opposite sides of the world or whatever praying to God about a spouse and he ultimately brings them together. Um, Typically people take that realm and say, "Oh, I'm praying for a spouse. God opens my eyes to somebody," and I just say this, God told me you're my spouse, type of deal, and they're quick to cling to those things. But it can be, I don't know. I think that's interesting. I'll just leave it at that. I think that's interesting. I think that's interesting. Um, I'm a bigger fan of, again, like, hey, we have free will to be able to choose and decide, and inviting God into that mix, man, makes a difference. But okay, I gotta go. I appreciate y'all a ton. Listen, thank y'all for the conversation. Thank y'all for hanging with me. I love the conversations. Agree, disagree, whatever, man. It's all love. I love it, and we should have more of it. I think we'll make room for it more, moving forward. Um, and so, man, listen. Be sure to send me a message, Secure, if you're interested in getting into the Secure program. Are designed to help you go from anxious or avoidant attachment to secure. Be sure to send me, or to go to the top of my page. Go to the top of my page. Okay, there you can actually click the link and take a free questionnaire. All right, to get your free diagnostic to help you see and uncover roots behind your surface experiences with love, so you can make just as decisions to change them. All right. Scroll down a little bit, click book your qualification call. It's free. Answer those questions. It'll send you the best direction that makes the most sense. You'll either book your free qualification call or join the waitlist. I got an active plan or a program there for you to walk through as well to help you build security. Um, and then anything else? Oh yeah, click that same link if you want to know your attachment style. You don't know what your attachment style is, but you want to know it. Be sure to click that link. All right. Scroll down to the bottom. You'll see that gold line. Book your, take your attachment style quiz, and you'll get that as well. If you can't do any of that, be sure to follow as we continue navigating through healing, doing relationships the right way. We start just doing the healing work on ourselves first, which opens up to all kinds of conversations and caveats, man. Of course, not in any kind of debating whatsoever. I'm not in that business. I'm not here to debate, just have conversations, and I enjoy it. Voice of Hope. Where is it? Go to the top of my page. All right. Click the link. If you want to know your attachment style, you're clicking that link. You're going to scroll to the bottom, and there's a gold line that says take your attachment style, or take your attachment style quiz. Click that, and it'll take you to the quiz. Okay. And, follow those next steps there. The goal is presence, Kay. We talked about that all stream. Um, the replay will be up on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, Coach Sean Walker. That'll be coming up soon. All right. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you. And until next time, be easy and be breezy. Peace.